Saturday Football Live. I'm joined in the studio by the OGs. Is that what the young team say?
Don't call it that.
That's how I'm going for it. By Des Roach and by my good man Johnny Bailey, my good baldy specky man Johnny Bailey. Guys, how are we? We've got an interesting week ahead. League reconstruction stuff that's still rumbling on. Johnson Borough and Darville stuff that seems to have disappeared because of league construction stuff, but it's still rumbling on. Des, how are we this week?
I'm all good, yeah. Glad to be back. This is don't tell my wife, but this is probably my favourite part of the week. getting four hours out, sitting with my mates, talking football. What can be better?
Johnny, how are you?
Brilliant. Glad to be here. Do you think your wife listens to this?
No.
I know, I'm good. I think the Johnson Borough Darville stuff is interesting because we had a couple of comments on the show last Sunday regarding saying that the board were meeting on Tuesday and it was a top topic for discussion. So I'm a wee bit surprised we've not had a resolution as of yet, but fingers crossed it comes along soon.
It's a strange one. They met on Tuesday, which again I'm the same. I was led to believe that it was the main topic, and then there was a potential meeting on Thursday, which I've not heard anything from, so I don't even know if it happened. But that was involving mainly league reconstruction after the meeting on Tuesday as well, was it? Or Tuesday after Monday for the league reconstruction. So we'll get into all that stuff. But look, before we get ourselves into the PG versus the pundits, and I did stop the rot last week. Still not a win, but I did stop the rot of consecutive defeats. Remember, if you want to get in touch with us, you can get us on WhatsApp at 07396 717 412. That's 07396 717 412. Or you can get us on X and Instagram at SAP Football Live. Or if you are one of our lovely viewers on YouTube right now, fire a question into the comments, and myself and the guys are more than happy to answer it. We're probably a bit too honest about it, and that might be good for you, but not so good for us.
I might get us into trouble sometimes.
Exactly.
That's good. Listen, if you want to be honest, you've got to be controversial.
Correct, and you love to be controversial.
Nothing wrong with that.
Johnny was the reason that my DMs were blowing up for so long. So, featured fixtures this week. We've got University of Stirling versus Gala Ferrydean, Hurford versus Darville, Renfruit versus Arthle, Neielson versus Wlets, Greenup versus Arthle, Knightswood versus Rossville. I feel that the league reconstruction being up in the air, it's kind of causing issues with the importance of certain matches. Now we have Hurford and Darville as one of our featured fixtures, but the fact that Darville could get, in quotations, relegated and jump up, Hurford could finish in the relegation zone but not be relegated. We've also got a wee short interview with the new Gartcairn co-manager Ryan McStay, who is in a funny position because I've asked him about relegation and he doesn't know if it's going to happen for them or not, even if they finish bottom of the league. But again, we'll get into that. So, gentlemen, University of Stirling and Gala Ferrydean. Johnny, how do you see that one going?
I think Stirling will beat them fairly comfortably. I would say I'll give Gala a goal just because I like goals. 3-1. 3-1 University of Stirling.
Yes.
Yeah, I still in University all day. Scoreline, I think Stirling will be quite convincing. I would be going 2-0, but I'm quite happy to go with Johnny for that. But indicates the result. So yeah, Stirling winning.
I'm going to do the same. And actually, I forgot to mention, congratulations to East Kilbride winning the title during the week there after their win midweek. Celtic being Calabria's drawn last week guaranteed them the playoffs, but they've now won the league, so that's back-to-back league titles for Mick Kennedy and his team. So congratulations to East Kilbride. Will they be able to make it through? I saw on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it that Mick Kennedy and Cy Ferry were going up to Brora Rangers today, so that's who they obviously think are actually Brora, even to Breton, I don't know. They're going up to watch them anyway, and that could be a potential who they play to go into the playoff to play. It's looking like Bonnyrigg Rose now.
Yeah,
it's looking like
Bonnyrigg are the ones that are going to come down.
Forfar are starting to pick up a couple of points in Bonnyrigg. I think it's been well documented at this level with the issues they've got with the league. that with their park, with the slope and stuff, they've had problems there. So it's looking like Bonnyrigg are going to be Team 42. So moving on to the West of Scotland Premier League. There's Hurford versus Darville.
Darville also picked up recently. They also had that really controversial game up at Johnson Borough. But I think Hurford will have too much, particularly playing at Blade Park, being at home at this point in the season. I think they've got enough on it to take the win today.
Johnny?
I agree. I think Hurford have hit a good bit of form just at the right time. Spoke to my mate Ali Brown, who's the goalie coach, and all season he's been saying that they've been playing okay, it's been coming, they've just not been able to score, and they've managed to arrest that, as I said, right at the right time for them. But I do feel, when we're talking about the reconstruction stuff, I feel for teams like Darville and stuff, because they must have one eye on that, and yet they've still got to try and play as if it's not going to happen, so they can try and keep themselves safe, So it's a really awkward situation. But in terms of picking the result, I would go for a Hurford win.
I think the thing for Darville, they also had the game up at Borough, which was obviously, as we said, controversial. But I think they beat 3-1 at home to come last week. I think that was quite a telling point for me. And for Dan Henderson and the team as well, I just think Hurford would be too strong.
Sorry, I had to get the aircon fixed there.
When did you say that in April in Scotland?
I know, it's an absolute oven in the studio. On that, Hurford have been back-to-back wins. They're looking like they're starting to turn. We'll hear from Hurford manager Darren Ferguson shortly. Darren Henderson, sorry. We'll hear from Hendo shortly. I spoke to Mick Oliver, obviously I had him on the podcast, and we spoke about what it means for the league reconstruction after we spoke about Johnson Borough game. The interesting thing is, and I don't believe that Mick's lying to me, is he doesn't know a great deal about what's happening with reconstruction. I felt like I was telling him more than what he knew, and I think that that's a bit strange as well, that he doesn't actually have a great knowledge of what could happen.
Maybe he doesn't want to know, though. Maybe he just wants to concentrate on the games and try and win the games.
Moving to the first division, again, apologies if you hear any music or any joyfulness. It's not coming from this studio. There's a party next door.
There's plenty of joyfulness in this studio.
Yes, yeah.
No negativity.
Is that even a word, joyfulness?
It is now.
It
I
is.
think so, aye.
You're a teacher, come on, is joyfulness a word?
I
Right, I'm a
think
PE teacher.
somebody could
All my lessons are joyfulness.
somebody could answer that from our East End community radio community or on YouTube. Then let us know joyfulness what I feel like it should be. We have Renfruit and Arthle. Des, how do you believe your beloved Renfruit will do today?
I actually think we'll do well. I sent Quigs a message before we came on here. I think it's very, very difficult to see against Renfrew at home. I think that's a massive contributing factor to a lot of the Renfrew success this year. Arthle, Kevin Rutkiewicz getting in there. He's not had the opportunity to bring in any sort of players, etc., to change it. All it would really give the dressing room is maybe a bit of positivity for those who weren't in the team, weren't in the squad, who are looking to be given a chance. It'll be difficult, don't get me wrong, it'll be difficult, but down at Neielson Park, entirely different place from Duntley. Duntley, grass on a slope, quite heavy, quite tight. Neielson Park, big, open, quite expansive. Yeah, it's a bit silly asking that question. I'll always go for a Renfrew win, but I do think we're going to win today.
Sorry.
Well, I'm not going to pick against Des's beloved team. He's a supporter, so we've got to go with that. I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens with Arthle with the new manager coming in. They've got lots and lots of games in April, so they're still in a really strong position to get one of those playoff spots, but this month is probably going to make or break them in terms of what they do. So if they are going to go up, I think they need to put a marker down early days today, but I agree with Des. I think we'll go for a Renfrew win.
The bit I feel
sorry
for Arthle
we'll come back today because we're going to go into the games in more detail when we hear from Jimmy Quigley. We'll get ourselves through this section. I'm going to go for a draw between the two. I think that Arthle getting the good win last week, and we're talking about bounce back ability with the new manager. I think they maybe get the new manager bounce, but on the flip side, I think they went through are doing particularly well, and I also think that Renfruit have to get something today in terms of continuing to try and push to win the league. Moving on to second division, really big one in the second division. Neielson and Wlets. Johnny, you've been down to see Wlets a few times of late. What is the thoughts on this? Because Neielson are now 3 games with it one.
3 draws in the last 3 games, but they've all been 3-3, 3-3, and 2-2. So
0-0 today.
I know. You could see that being a 0-0, and I think I spoke to a Wlets player after they went to Maryhill and get turned over quite comprehensively. And his words to me, they've really stuck in my mind. He said, "I will just know the same away from home." But you look at the form, and you maybe wouldn't agree with that. But this is going to be a different kettle of fish going to Neielson. I think that this is going to be another draw, personally, today.
I fancied Wlets before the game.
So what's...
So we're at Davies here. I know we lost 4-1 to Maryhill, and we tipped Maryhill that day to win it. I just think it's getting to the point of that crunch time that I think Wlets have new manager in as well. I certainly don't think Wlets will get beat.
No, I think if there's going to be a winner, I think it would be Wlets. But I just think Neielson strong at home. I watched Wlets last week against Muirkirk. They were okay, but again, the conditions were atrocious for both teams. I think Wlets will probably get more quality, but I'm just edging because Neielson have been at home, and I think they'll be tough to beat up at Briggerlee.
Right, okay. Johnny's seen Wlets obviously more closely than I have, certainly obviously last week. I agree. I don't think Wlets will get beat, so I'm quite happy to go along with the draw.
I'm swithering on this one. I think this is a tough one because Neielson have dropped the points 3-3. Obviously all score draws, but looking at the fixtures, it's Cambuslang who, and let's be honest, Cambuslang have had a nothing short of a shocking season. Fourth, who are a mixed bag. You don't know what fourth you're getting. Also think Bells Hill, who they drew it with the week before the fourth game, also think they're a bit of a mixed bag. It's hard to tell. Do you know what? I'm going to go for a Wlets win today. So we're having a wee bit of a different opinions between us. I'm going to go for Wlets today. Third division, Greenup and Arthle. Des, how do you see this playing out?
I fancy Arthle. I think Greenup have been really temperamental most of the season. They haven't really been able to get a consistent run of form and a consistent run of games. You see the results.
5 out of 1.
Nah, they just fluctuate. I know they're at home down at Ravenscraig. Arthle are pushing to try and obviously get the promotion slot anyway, which I think they're in. Yeah, I don't see Greenup win it. I mean, also last week getting beat 4-1 away to Glasgow United, then getting beat 3-1 by Kilsyth, drawn with Glenvale, drawn with Threave, drawn with Girvan, beat Avon Ricks, who, let's be honest, aren't exactly the stalwarts of the league. No, I fancy Arthle quite strongly in this one.
I agree. I think the one of the big things for me as well is Arthle getting beat last week when they were on such a great run, and then getting beat from Glenvale last week. Sean will have the boys prepped, motivated. They'll want to show, very similar to when Wlets get turned over from Maryhill. It's really important if you're at the top end of the league that if you do suffer a shock defeat, that you recover really quickly and get back on the horse, so to speak. So I can't, and with, as Des said, with Greenup 5 without a win, I think Arthle for me.
I'm going to go the same as yourselves. We'll hear from Greenup manager Gary Fleming about their current form in that 5 games without a win. But I'm going to go with the same as yourselves, Arthle. And the final game, Knightswood and Rossville. I think this is a particularly interesting game. Knightswood look like they're maybe feeling a bit of pressure. They have experience in their squad, but they also have a lot of youth players who may be struggling with inexperience, and particularly an inexperience of trying to win these type of games. And I've spoken to Michael Pender, the Knightswood manager, about that. Rossville, they had a good couple of wins and they looked like they were bouncing back. I mean, they've had a 5-1 against Campbelltown, which is expected. 6-0 against New Mains, which I expected them to beat New Mains, but I didn't expect so convincingly. Then they beat West Park 2-1, which was a cracking result. And then last week was a bit of a surprise, somebody losing 3-1 to Rossville. Johnny, how do you see this going?
So, sorry, Josh, but I see a Knightswood win, and I'll tell you why. So, Michael Pender has been on the show basically every week. He's been great at coming on and talking about games and saying that teams are defending the box, maybe playing a bit deeper, a low block, so to speak, and then try to kitchen the counter. We know Josh isn't going to do that. Josh is going to play his game and he's going to play football the way that Josh wants his team to play, which is going to be open and expansive. And I think when both teams are going to do that, invariably you'll see the team with the better players will win the game. Yeah. And I think Knightswood have got better players than Rossville.
Well, Knightswood as well.
Yeah, obviously last week's hiccup away to St Peters wasn't seen, but it's come at this point in the season now, and as Johnny said, Josh won't set his team up to go in there and defend and go there and be apprehensive. That should lead for an open game, and if you've got an open game, better players will take advantage of that. And again, currently I think Knightswood have got the better players, so it'll be a Knightswood win.
I've gone for a draw. I think that Mark Russell being back is absolutely key for Rossville. I know that
signed David Sinclair as well.
Another good signing. David Sinclair was signed. Kev Docherty is going to be back on the bench today. If he has to come on for half an hour, I think he might be top goal scorer in the league. He's got quality, he can get goals. I think that the pressure, now if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see a wee guest going by there for the birthday party. I think we all know who they support. But for me, I'm going to go for a draw. I think Rossville will come out of the traps early doors. And I think if they don't lose a goal early, then they could go and get something. I would even lean towards, if they score early, Rossville win. But having said that, if Knightswood score early, then I don't see Knightswood not winning. So that is the risk and the balance that Josh has to think about in this game. So that's us. First game, University of Stirling versus Gala. We're both going for Stirling Uni. Second game, Hurford and Darville. We're both going for Hurford. Third game is the first change. Renfruit and Arthle, I've gone for draw. You guys have gone for Renfruit. Then Neielson and Wlets, I've gone for Wlets. You guys have gone for the draw. Then we've both gone for Arthle and Greenup and Arthle. And in the final game, Knightswood and Rossville, I've gone for a draw. You've gone for Knightswood. So it looks like we won't have a draw today, but I don't imagine we'll have a draw between us. So Somebody's going to have to win. It's getting to the stage that, and if you're listening and you can hear that, then you obviously know what team the people at the party support. The doors just get shut. So yeah, that'll be us for PG versus the Pundits. Hopefully I can claw it back, because I won't lie.
You usually do all right when I'm on, to be fair.
That is true. It's because
you're the jinx.
I've not got a clue what I'm talking about.
Let's have a look.
No, you're pretty good, Johnny.
Oh, no, I've got good logic, but just my decision making.
Well, to be fair, Johnny, the last time you were on, you and Gary beat me.
Oh, did we?
But the last time I played against you two, I won.
Aye.
And that was my last one. That was my only one.
Well, need a confidence booster, just get me in the studio more often.
With Des.
Aye, with Des.
So we'll move on and go through our fixtures properly. We've touched on East Kilbride winning the Lowland League the other night, which is 31 games, 23 wins, 4 draws, 4 defeats, 109 goals for, 40 goals against. Now we're looking at something I think quite interesting with Gala Ferryden, because Johnny, you've said about they'll score today. They've scored 56 goals in 31 games. I honestly, that would have them sitting, in terms of goals scored, that has them in the top half of the league for goals scored. But defensively, they're obviously really poor at the back, 84 goals conceded. How do you see it playing out? There's Stirling Uni, I think it was them that lost to East Kilbride the other night when East Kilbride won the league. But they're obviously in no danger. They are 12 points clear with 3 games to go. We don't even know if there's going to be a relegation, which for the show personally takes a bit of shine off of these games because it doesn't have the same impact. But we both went for Stirling Uni. could you see any chance of a slip up here?
I wouldn't have thought so. I think Stirling Uni they're a strong team. There is probably as close to a professional team as you're going to get in that league, given the way the guys are allowed to train. They fulfil their education commitments around the sport. What they don't have is that guaranteed continuity every year. That's the other thing. That's why they always seem to be in the sort of position they are. They replace like for like. But I don't see any way that Gala Fairydean can come back to haunt this. I mean, looking at they're on 33-22. There's 11 points of a difference between the two teams at this minute in time. Still in it at home. Gala get a wee bit of travel. Nah, I don't want minus 28 goals. Still
if we were to assume that league reconstruction was not going to happen, then I think today would be the day that Gala were relegated.
Yeah, they would drop it.
Broomhill 6 points clear, 3 games remaining. Broomhill, Cumbernauld, both picking up enough points when they need to. I just don't see Gala being able to get in. But I also think because we're talking about league reconstruction, I think because it's looking like it doesn't mean anything now, what's the massive incentive for them to go and win? Or is the manager saying, let's not count our chickens, let's see if we can go and get a result here, because just in case we need it?
I think every team wants to win games. I think it's see if you don't go into every game wanting to win it and want to give 100%, then you shouldn't be playing football at any level, to be honest. And these guys probably getting paid to play football, which is even worse. If someone's willing to put their hand in their pocket to give you money to come and play football, you should regard that as one of the biggest privileges that you can get, and you should give 100% and make sure you're doing everything you possibly can to win every game, regardless of when it is, where it is, or what it's for, in my opinion.
I would tend to agree. I think that Gala, they're a decent sized club for where they are down in the borders. They get reasonable crowds compared to some of the other clubs in the league, which is obviously
just catchment area, isn't it, though? It's just trying to get players. I know teams have always struggled down there in the south of Scotland, and even when you look at Stranraer in the SPFL playing, training up in Glasgow and things like that, just so they can attract players, because they know they can't get players to come down there. I'd imagine teams like Gala and such will train locally, so you're looking at a really small pool to try and pick from.
You're also looking at if you are a shining light as a player down in Gala, you're more than likely going to play with one of the Edinburgh teams. Mm-hmm. So the talent's getting taken away from the local area. So that's diminishing the pool that you can go, diminishing it and diluting it.
Also, the issue for Gala today is Broomhill are playing East Stirling. I think Broomhill will go and win that. It's a home game, if you can call it that, in Dumbarton for Broomhill.
Where are they playing this year? Dumbarton, is it?
Dumbarton this year. That's the.
Are they doing like one of the challenges where they try and get to every ground?
Well, since we're talking about challenges, make sure that you go in and you donate a wee bit of money if you can to myself, and Des is going to cycle it with me, and Maxie, the Pollock manager, is going to run it with me, covering every ground in the Glasgow area, west of Scotland. So we're covering 16 different grounds, covering 30 miles. So it's all for a great charity, AT Society, which is one that's quite close to my heart. It's about genetic condition that basically your body starts to waste away. Your mind still operates normally, but your body starts to waste away, and it severely limits your lifespan. So it's something that's quite close to me and my family and my friends. So if you could donate, it would be really appreciated. I've got a link on the X page, on the Pyramid Promotions page, if you could go and do that. And I think that's a good time for us to move on to the West of Scotland Premier League. So Hurford and Darville, we've both gone for Hurford today. I don't think I'd be massively shocked if Darville were to go and win this, because like you touched on this right at the top of the show, Darville are in decent form. They're I think part of the issue is that a lot of the teams at the bottom end of the table, barring maybe Benburb and Gartcairn, they're probably in form. If this was normal stage of the season and that was how their form had been the whole way through, you'd be sitting maybe 9th or 10th with a good chance of being away for that relegation zone. But they're leaving it late, which is interesting in terms of relegation and promotion. But I feel, as much as I've gone against them all season, I feel that Hurford now are getting to the stage that a win today, and I think Hurford have probably done enough. And I'm quite pleased for Hendo that they've managed to turn it around, because I did think the aging team may have just been a bit too much for them, and they're showing their quality and their experience at this stage and now picking up enough points.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think Darville losing at home to Cumnock last week, I think that was quite a telling one. If Darville had won that, then they're right on the front foot. They're really pushing forward. But what you said there about Dan Henderson and his Hurford aging team, this is when experience counts. Your experience doesn't really count at the start of the season when it's great pitches. Everybody's come off a pre-season, they're all flying and ready to go. These guys have won Scottish Cups with Darren. Darren doesn't change his team terribly much. His squad rotation and his squad influx is usually pretty steady. This is where experience doesn't just win leagues, but it keeps you in leagues.
Yeah.
This is where I would expect Hurford to come out and talk today.
I know. The only thing I would say, PG, is if you look at their team from last week, it's not that aging when you actually look at it. Do you know what I mean? George O'Connor, Gareth Armstrong, Sam Liddington, Carter Frew, Ross Love, Liam Miller, Paul McKenzie, OK Taz, we know he's getting on. Ben Hughes, Chris Kerr, Lewis Morrison, and Callum Watt. You know, it's experienced, but I wouldn't say it's
too
aging. Do
elderly.
you know what I mean? Like, obviously, the big Robbo's not in there, and guys like that have been kicking about that Hendo's relied on for years.
I think that's maybe been a change in the last 6 weeks, and it's starting to show, because you're mentioning guys in there who have got experience. They're not older players, really, but there's quality there as well, and I think that is probably why you're starting to see the tide turn a touch for them.
Aye, and like I said, Ali's always said that they've every week. I talk to him nearly every day, but he's always saying that they've been competitive. They've been doing the right things. It's just been one of those really frustrating seasons where sometimes as a coach, it's easy when you know you're not playing well or the other team's better, but when you think you're doing okay, and yet you still keep getting beat. It sounds as if it's been one of those seasons for them. He said that they went 1-0 up on Saturday there, and they were fairly comfortable, and then they get pegged back, start the second half, and they were starting to get a bit nervy and think, oh, here we go again, here we go, and then they managed to get another couple and go on and win the game fairly comfortably. So
you look at the net goals they've conceded 39-23. For me, for a team that could be getting relegated, particularly at this level, that's not a terrible defensive record they have. And sorry, they're 39 goals they've conceded. I don't think that's awful. Whereas you look at Bamber conceded 60 shots, only 36 to be honest, but they're not scoring as many. Darville conceded 46, and even Gartky in there 39, but their situation's a bit different. When you look further up the table, you've got Glenafton who have conceded 47. You know what I mean? It's a reasonable difference, and I think that's probably a big indicator of what you're saying there is they're keeping themselves in games. Hurford don't really get 4 and 5s. They don't get the odd one, but they don't get
did last week.
But no, I mean in terms of what they
I know.
I mean in terms of
all right, where they get beat.
So that's been a trait for a number of years. They just win the game first, get the 3 points, whether it's 1 goal, 2 goals, 5 goals, just get the win, get the 3 points. That's the name of the game at the outset for them. They've never been the most flamboyant.
No. But
that comes from the manager as well. You know that you're not. I'm saying Hendo's not flamboyant, but you're going to get a hard game when you play against Hurford. You're never going to get an easy game.
That's pragmatic.
Regardless of where they are in the league, or what their form's like, you know you're going to be in for a tough afternoon.
No, definitely not. But we're going to go to a break, and then when we come back, we are going to hear from. We're going to hear from Darren Henderson, not Darren Ferguson. I've not spoken to him.
The flamboyant Darren Henderson.
The flamboyant Darren Henderson. So we will hear from Hendel when we come back. And remember, if you want to get in touch with us, it's 07396 717 412. That's 07396 717 412. Or you can get us on X and Instagram at SatFootballLive. Or you can get us some questions in the comments on YouTube. So we'll be right back after these. 07396 717412, or you can get us on X and Instagram at SatFootballLive, or you can get us on the comments section on YouTube Live. So we're going to hear from Darren Henderson, the manager of Hurford, in a second, with how we think it's going to play out today and what his thoughts have been on how their current form's been, because they've obviously picked up some points late and they've had back-to-back wins. I believe that's their first back-to-back win for the season. Can they make it 3 wins in a trot? So I'm going to put on, this is what Hendo had to say on the back of that.
We've got your team really well this week, so we're really looking forward to the game, especially picking up some valuable points lately. Obviously, it's a local derby against a really good Darville side, which I've been fortunate enough to watch 2 or 3 times lately. They've gone well as well, so we know we really need to be at our best. So it's a big 3 points for both sides. We're at home, so here's hoping that we can pick up another 3 and continue in the form that we've been in lately.
That was very flamboyant. I think there's not giving much away there, but do you know what? I'm actually going to just play the second part of the interview I had with him, and I said to him, like I touched on there, that they're now starting to put back-to-back wins together, and they're now in a position where they are 7 points clear of the relegation zone. Today, potentially they could be 10 clear, and potentially could be only a point behind Knightswood. I've asked them if they now at the stage where they're maybe starting to look at who's above them instead of who's behind them. Granted, a defeat today, they're sucked back in it, particularly if results don't go their way. But this is what Hendo had to say on they were looking above themselves.
Confidence is high just now. The performances have been good.
That's Jimmy Quigley. I've hit the wrong button there. Get Hendo back in a wee second. Here he is.
Hi mate. Last 2 results have been very encouraging. We've played pretty well and great to get 6 points. Much needed 6 points. We've got 7 games remain.
That's me putting in the wrong clips again, so I'm just having a bad day with that. So we actually heard from Jimmy on the last one. I've named him wrong. So he's not actually saying that they're looking above. He was more just focusing on Darville. Surely, I know that relegation is the main impactor here for them, or potentially no being. But do you think they are in their dressing room thinking, well, we can actually start to go and target Cumnock and maybe Glenafton and try and get the teams above them?
I think safety will be the first priority once they're officially safe, because once you've been down there all season, that then becomes your number 1 priority, is just getting that safety, getting secured your place in the league, whether as we keep saying, the reconstruction happens. But they must have known going into this period towards the end of the season. I've said it before, they've got 4 of the last 6 at home, for them. So they must have been looking at this period thinking, if we can pick up some results there, we'll be okay. But I'm sure they'll just be concentrating and getting clear of that relegation spot and then looking above them.
Yeah, that's the point that they need to focus on, just remaining within the league, staying there by rights, and then let the legalities of what's going to come will come. Because that's your bread and butter, isn't it? That's what you stay out and start seeing. You're staying out to stay in the league, keep yourself fighting. I don't see any problem for Hurford staying in the league this year. I really don't. The ones I fear for, and I'm sure we'll come on to it, I really fear for Benburn at this moment in time. They're the ones that are on the downward spiral. The 2 Winters brothers came in and it just doesn't seem to click. But Hendo's been there. He's obviously he's trusted team around him. So yeah, I would expect Hurford to be quite comfortable. Darville are the ones who are playing well. Okay, take aside the defeat last week at home to Cumnock, which was a kick in the teeth. Mick will make sure his team's right up for it. He's a young manager who's got his own aspirations. He'll be making sure he's putting that on his team before they go out onto the grass.
Interestingly, I've just seen on social media that Darville have had to draft in a goalie on loan from United this morning due to injuries to their 2 current goalies. So they've brought in Liam Russell on an emergency loan. So it'll be interesting to see if that any effect on the game this afternoon? Because it could.
It's not as if they see Darville with their troubles to see this year. They're having to try and get a goalkeeper in on a Saturday morning. I can't imagine that would be the easiest night for the club secretary.
Who is the goalkeeper at that?
So is it Andy Wilson?
Right.
Andy Wilson and Jack Ruddy?
Jack Ruddy. Okay.
I didn't know Jack Ruddy was still there.
No, I didn't know either.
No.
That's obviously not ideal, particularly in a position, a specialised position where you would like your goalkeeper to be knowing your defenders and understanding how they play, maybe where they like to receive passes.
You would hope that they've got an experienced defence. They've got Conor McGlinchey and Jason Naismith in there. You would hope that they would take on a bit of responsibility of managing a young goalie through that period and would look after them, which I'm sure they will.
They'll get no doubts they'll be talking them through it, and they'll be chatting with the direction beforehand, and they'll be talking for the 90 minutes during the game as well. So they will and should shoulder a lot of the responsibility.
We've got a question from Craig McGee on YouTube. Says no game for Talbot today, so listening live. When do you expect the league structure to be confirmed? We don't actually know, Craig. That's something we'll go into more detail on, but as it stands, we know that the Lowland League have to go back to their clubs after the meeting this week, so it's for something that will be something that's got to be wrapped up pretty quickly. Somebody said to me that they think it will be the next league meeting for the Lowland League, but I think they've got to do it before then because they can't wait until the end of April to decide this.
The problem though that then creates is it just means that everything's just a damp squib for at the end of the season. You know, all the games and all the leagues, it's just pointless.
I know it's hard to tell because we're going to.
I know you could win the league, like you can become champions. Of course, Clydebank are going to win the Premier League, first, second, third, fourth. Are still to play for, but
we're going to go into this league. Renfruit don't have a licence, do they?
No.
Right. So we're going to go into Renfruit and and we'll hear from Jimmy Quigley probably this time.
See, to be fair, I don't even think Renfruit would want to get down that route either. As much as my club, and I know Jimmy and I know the committee, the expenditure that it would cost,
is it worth it for them?
That's exactly it.
But what we're looking at is obviously it's huge for Renfruit to go and potentially win the league, and co-winning obviously. But the issue we have as well is the co-winning could be one of the clubs because of licence who could be in the Lowland League West next season. But Renfruit will go up then. Renfruit will go up regardless, as far as I'm aware. And obviously we'll touch on it later when we go into more detail. I'll move on to this in a second. But there's also the implications. I think the implications are now bigger at the bottom end of the West of Scotland and what it means for Division 4, which I think, I'm genuinely not blaming the league for this, but I think that it's something that needs to be decided quickly. And the league obviously can't decide that, but as soon as it is, they must be having talks in place for what's going to happen at the very bottom of the pyramid, and teams are coming in, which I assume if they want to keep the 16-team leagues, then it's going to have to happen. But we'll move on to Renfrew winning. Renfrew, I'd said it last week on the show, I'd have said maybe 6 weeks ago, I would have hung my hat on Renfrew not making the promotion spots. I think that they just had too many games. But now they're in a position where their games in hand have started to disappear and teams are not guaranteed. I understand Conan win today, Conan go 3 points clear of them with 2 games in hand. But if Renfrew win today, 3 points clear and Conan with 2 games in hand, there's no guarantee that you're going to win both of those games to leapfrog them. Petershill are in for me. They're out the running.
Yep.
Glencairn are picking up a bit of form at the right time. They're starting to turn it on now, starting to get some wins. The Rock, potentially because of game in hand, they could do it, but I don't think they will. I think they're too inconsistent. It's Arthle. We need Arthle get the bounce back from the new manager. I mean, Johnny, what do you think in terms of this?
So for me, the team to watch is Rutherglen, and I'll tell you why. 5 wins in the last 6, 2 points off top, but they play. They've got 7 games left. 6 of them are against teams in the bottom half of the league.
Yeah.
You know, which you would fancy them the way they play and the way they're playing just now. They take points.
There's 5 wins out of those 7 will probably be enough.
I think Rutherglen's is really the team to watch coming by late running. I was a bit like you. I thought maybe because they had a wee sticky spell about a month or so ago, and I thought they maybe lost their way a wee bit. They could beat off Maple at home and stuff like that. So I think they're the team to watch for me, and it'd be interesting to see in the running.
Do you believe that Glencairn are one to watch for the run of promotion or
No, they win the league.
Mhm.
Win the league.
That is the key thing for me.
Just based off that run-in, see if you're looking at that run-in, you're thinking, with fancies, you've got to fancy them to beat.
So Glencairn running, obviously Renfruit today, Vale of Clyde, Thornywood, Rob Roy, Burnley, Meda, Blantyre, Vix. Now I'm looking at, obviously today will take care of itself. Vale of Clyde, at Vale of Clyde, it's an interesting one, and you could almost consider it a semi-ish derby because they're not that far from each other. But they're a hard team to beat at home, Vale of Clyde. Thornywood, I feel like they're kind of just slipping away now. I think maybe the cups have done them more harm than good playing the extra games. But then you've got Rob Roy and the Meda thrown in there who aren't, for me, they aren't, the quality of them is better than where they are in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if they're fighting for their lives, then that's two very tough games for them. Coburnie could get sucked into it as well. Blantyre's what Blantyre are, they're gone anyway, but it could be interesting. But on Renfruit and Colwynn, ask Jimmy how they're
Renfruit play Arthle today, PG.
I know.
That's it, Colwynn.
Uh-huh.
They beat Colwynn 2 weeks ago. No,
Exactly, we're blue and white stripes.
I'm literally sitting looking at Colwynn on the screen. I'm glad you let me say it 3 times before you corrected me.
No,
We thought you were just talking about Renfruit and Colwyn and being at the top of the league. That's what we thought.
So I spoke to Jimmy about 4 wins in the last 5, and one of them being that win against Colwyn. So here's what Jimmy had to say about that.
Confidence is high just now. The performances have been good as well. It's picking up the points along the way. Players are just focused and trying to put up a performance this week against a really good side. We know it'll be tough. We prepared really well this week, so we're all really looking forward to the game, and hopefully we can keep that.
So I always find it difficult because there's only so much that certain managers want to give away. Unless you're George at Mabel or John Gibson, most of them play it quite cagey, whereas the 2 of them are brilliant. They just say what they want to say. Surely they've got to be. I think, and I understand who I'm saying this time. I understand the co-winning game for them. That must have been a massive confidence booster because I think the job Kev's done at co-winning, particularly over the last 4 months, has been incredible. And that was a massive 3 points for them.
I think if they beat Arthle at home this week and they beat Rutherglen away next week, they're promoted.
yeah.
So they're 2 massive games.
Don't shout it loud. Don't shout it loud. What Jimmy's done and the team that he's assembled, a lot of young guys. A lot of guys have been there for a number of years as well. It's not a massive turnover. But I would say that if Jimmy can get this team promoted, that is absolutely frightening management.
Unbelievable. Particularly after last season. I mean, that was a tough season for them, and I think that even in that was a decent season that he managed to keep the team up. The great year before, then last season he managed to keep them in this division. How he's gone to the levels of going this season, where it's unlikely, but the potential that they could be winning the league, for me, that's incredible because I'm just looking at it right now. Last season, Renfruit finished. They finished with 12.
What was the continuity in the squad like from last season to this season? Did they keep a lot?
Reasonably.
Pretty reasonable. We've seen the Britain young Chowdhury. They've lost Div. Div went to Thorn, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Bringing in Jojo Gillespie. That's been a huge one.
So when they were bringing in Jojo Gillespie, Martin and I were looking at him when we were at the Meda, and Renfrew dug deep and they've got him in, which is something which is unusual because Renfrew traditionally don't really transfer fees, and I certainly know the wages don't pay. So that was a massive coup getting Jojo in. Scott Morton's still being there, using his experience up front. They've lost Andrew Skinner. Andrew's been down to Meda. But again, he was more of an impact player. They've lost Big Andy Wright at the back. Andy retired and went to be part of the coaching team.
Yeah. So
they've lost experience. They've replaced it with young guys, but they're doing better.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I can't praise Jimmy high enough. I know he's a pal of mine, but what Renfrew have done.
And where is he sourcing the young players from? Is Is it the local tie-in with the 20s, or is it?
No, not particularly.
No.
The 20s don't tend to feed into the first team as much as you would
They don't have
expect.
a great 20 side, to be fair.
What he's doing is he's picking up guys who've maybe been at 20s at other clubs and maybe had a year or so in the juniors. I know Aaron was at, I think Aaron was at Forsyth for a wee bit of time. So he's picking players up from far afield, which again just shows you the depth and knowledge that he has of the game and the contacts that he has in the game. So, no, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. I'm sure he'll be down there shortly.
Looking at it last season, so last year they played 30 games, 9 wins, 6 draws, 15 defeats, stayed up 6 points clear of Cambuslang in the relegation zone. But then you look at now, so they've picked up 33 points last year. It's funny, they're only 12 points further ahead. And I'd say that the quality of the teams, excluding Blantyre and Ashfield, I'd say the quality of the teams at the bottom of the table this year are higher calibre, have picked up more points than they did last year. But maybe that's because your Johnson Burrows, your Drumchapels, who were clearly a higher level again, and even Shots to that a certain degree. But I've asked Jimmy, is their mind now on winning the league, now that they're in a position where you touched on it, Johnny?
I wonder what he's going to say here.
No, I know. We touched on it with Arthle today, beating Cohen a couple of weeks ago. If they beat Arthle, they can beat Glencairn next week. Then you're saying maybe. I mean, that you're really putting a bit of distance between yourselves and the teams above. So this is what Jimmy's saying on focusing on winning the league.
Motion or winning any sort of league just now, Paul. We've not spoken about it all season. Saturday, in fact, was us mathematically safe after beating Ashfield, which shows you how tight this league is. So we can't look any further forward than one game at a time. Teams have still got games to play, games in hand, so we can only concentrate on us and hopefully pick up as many points between now and the end of the season and see where we are.
I'm going to quote a part of something from Tune the Fat. I smell, because there's no way they have not spoken about promotion. Maybe there's not much chat about winning the league. 100% been chat about getting promoted.
I think as well, I looked at when I was looking at the league table, for the podcast on Sunday, and there's now a bit of a gap between third and fourth. There's a 6-point gap now, opened up between third and fourth in the first division, just because of Petershill. I know we've still got Arthle in there that are miles behind in terms of games, but where Petershill and St Roch's dropped points recently has created that wee gap for the promotion spots. So he's got to be thinking about how many points they need to get to be promoted. He's got to be, and what he says outwardly will be very different to what he says inwardly.
We've all been there. We've all coached at this level, and I can 100% say from my time at Craigmark when we had a really big turnaround, and we were looking at relegation, and we had a real turnaround. We won maybe 5 or 6 in the bounds, and we thought if we can win another 4 or 5, we are in the hunt for promotion. Needless to say, that didn't happen, but we were talking about it, and we were talking about it in February time. Like, your eyes are always on it, looking forward. We're going to move on to the big match in the second division between Neielson and Wlets. So we've spoken to Neielson manager Andy Whitefield. We've touched on the drop points for Neielson, Johnny, 3 games in a row, and against lower level teams in the league. I'm going to put it to you both. If you had to pick somebody to win this league, who would it be, Johnny?
Wlets.
Des?
Wlets.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think that...
I think Wlets have got the best squad.
Do you think the inexperience and youth at Muirkirk, they're going to get promoted in my eyes, but do you think that that's maybe holding them back from being able to push to win the league?
So, when you ask the question, who do we think is going to win the league? I'm saying Wlets. Who do I hope would win the league? And it's not because I've got any affiliation to any team or dislike or like. I would love to see Muirkirk win it for a couple of reasons. One, Muirkirk have been a traditional team that have been, without a better phrase, been the whipping boys for a long, long time. They've never really been at these heady heights. I would love it to see for the manager and the young squad they've got to go and prove, because I can guarantee you that there's going to be a lot of people circling around that club looking at players to take to a higher level. So I would love Muirkirk to win it. I think Wlets will win it purely because, as Johnny just said there, the depth and the ability that they have in the squad. The new management team's been in. I know Robert Love, who's been in coaching there. I just think they've got too much about them. I think we disagreed. We went for the draw, but I thought Wlets will win it today. I just see Neielson from too many. And again, I know Andy Whiteford. I just see too many skeletons in the closet for sometimes for Neielson. They don't infuse me with belief as much as the other two teams. I can see Muircup winning more games and Neielson losing games, and I can see Wlets having enough just to get across the line.
I think for me, watching Muircup last week, I was impressed with them. Very young squad, as we know, but a couple of looked like more experienced heads in the team as well, kind of guiding the boys through. Interesting, the Muircup 9 left. They've got 6 at home, which is massive for them, for teams going up there. And
which means that they have done well away from home.
Yeah.
Which to this point, they have 4 games in hand on Wlets and 3 games in hand on Neielson. They are 6 behind Neielson and 8 behind Wlets, and I think Wlets winning that game last week was massive for them, because if they had lost that, you're sitting there on 53, Muircup are on 51 with 4 games in hand. They're probably not going to be able to open that gap up, but now it's a lot tighter.
Mm-hmm. And I think Muircup would probably come away for the game last Saturday. It was fairly even. I think I said to you that I thought one goal would win it when I spoke to you at half time. And it was that type of game. Conditions weren't great and stuff like that. But then, for me, the difference was Wlets managed to brought on a couple of subs of real quality. Young Scott Patterson come off the bench, who they signed from Darville, and changed the game, in my opinion, from what they had. And it's just having that ability to go deep within the squad and still retain the quality that's on the park is going to stand them in good stead. And then obviously with Muircup, having such a young squad, do you trust a squad that young and inexperienced to go and win 9 games on the bounce to win a league? It's probably unfair. It's maybe unfair of me saying that, but I just think for me that's the difference. Wlets have got that experience and quality.
It's a bit like Knightswood for me, where is the inexperience, but like I touched on, caveat with they have a lot of experience in their team, but they have a lot of inexperience in their team as well, which probably outweighs the experience. Does it get through? Sometimes, it's like it's the old Alan Hansen kind of comment for the Man U team in the 90s that you can't win anything with youth. You can. It's just whether they want to sit there.
If you look at Wlets' lineup from last week when I was there, so they've got Darren Johnson in goals, who's played in the Premier League. Isaac Kerr's played in the Premier League. Ali Parks won Scottish Cups with Auchinleck. Michael Moffat, senior career at Communities Years, quality. Jordan Boyd, Louis Kerr. It's just quality all over the park.
It's a first division squad.
Yeah, that's 3 players that we had at Maida right through the spine of the team.
And by the way, the best player I think is the young lad Reece, the right back that they signed from Irvine Meadow recently. Reece Wallace, is it? I think he's excellent. Right. I think he's one to watch.
We had Reece. We actually, before we left, we were trying to sign Reece on a new deal. And at that time, it never came through. But the boys that came from Wlets struggled to get into our team at certain points. You knew they were Premier League players. You could see it, but at that time, obviously, the confidence was down. But Isaac Kerr, a centre half, he's dominating in his own box and the opposition box. Louis Kerr got a lot of quality. Jordan Boyd
scores a lot of goals.
When he scored goals every day of the week, he's going to score goals for you. So that's what I'm saying. I think the quality will get Wlets through the.
Well, let's hear what Andy Whiteford had to say on them being in great form for promotion, and I think that you're looking at their 9 clear of Lanark, 6 games to go. Lanark 7.
Top 3 just now, or the top 3 at the end of the season.
It's hard to see past it. So they're in a great position, which I'm sure he's aware of. But I've asked, is there pressure on the team now to try and go and win the league? So here's what Andy had to say in that.
In a great position, in terms of promotion. I wouldn't say very pressure in terms of winning the title. I think winning promotion and winning titles is never easy. It's always difficult, particularly at this stage of the season. But obviously disappointed, dropping points in the last 3 games. This league, every game's tough. You know, and as I say, particularly at this stage of the season, you know, when I look back in the games, you know, Bells Hill, we were in total control. That's probably the nature of the drop points is more disappointing because you felt we were in total control of the game. You know, we did probably a crazy 15 minutes where we lose 3 goals, but we fight back and we score late on to get a point, which, you know, could be important at the end of the season. So it was, you know, I was pleased with the fight back there. The 4th game, yeah, that probably really disappointed with the performance in that game. We were always behind, and we never really get going. But we fought back and managed to get a point, which is pleasing, you know, and that's under the circumstances. And then last week, Cambuslang, you know, it was difficult conditions, horrible weather. You know, we're leading 1-0 and then we're leading 2-1 and we lose a goal. Probably I feel it was a foul on our players in the build up to their goal. But again, these things happen and we held on for a point. Probably disappointed we didn't go on to get a winner. However, we held on. So we're still unbeaten in the last 6 games, you know.
So they're unbeaten in the last 6 games. That's a good point. I think that dropping 6 at that, and that is dropping 6 points. It's no picking up 3 points. I think he's got to be really happy though that obviously last season they finished bottom of the league with only 19 points. They were miles out of the running. And this season, and that's something I think we've all touched on in the show, is sometimes it's not the worst to get relegated. And I bet you Neielson's crowds are up this season. They'll be, if they are still right in the running in the last couple of days, I guarantee that could add on an extra 100, 150 fans at games, which is invaluable for clubs like this. So I think that he's done a great job, but they must be worrying about promotion. They must be worrying about winning the league.
Because they were at the top for so long, they were flying high. But as you said, they came down. Last year, everything was negative around Brigley. This year, we're sitting at the top of the league for so long. Confidence high. Players they're looking forward to the games. I just don't see it happening. Unfortunately, I think he's a lovely guy, and I'm sure the players are working their socks off up there. And they do deserve to get promoted. They do deserve to get promoted from the previous results they've put in all year. Now that it's came to the final crunch, this is we're seeing a couple of wee sort of ropey results come in that maybe shows the fragility in the squad. And again, as much as they've been confident, this might be showing the fragility that the relegation that's now they're playing a wee bit of trepidation.
Yeah, definitely. Look, we're going to go to a quick break, and as we come back, the West of Scotland games will be kicking off. So remember, if you want to get us on WhatsApp at 07396 717 412, or if you want to get us any comments on YouTube, then just go into the live and in the comments and just get in touch with us. We'll be right back after. I know, thanks, man.
I was thinking, this is a quick bit in the second foot before. I think that's what they're playing in the game. They're also having it.
That's when the stress kicks in for me.
What's that?
That's when the stress kicks in for me.
You don't let it go.
Aye.
That's it. No, but they're your losing head if you do. See, when you were at Hibs, did you love doing it? Or did you just...
No, stayed in the flats just opposite the
Stadium, aye.
Well, we stayed in digs in a college for 2 years when we were just the first 2 years up there, and then
Was that at Cam?
no, the Julian S. Valley College, South Portobello way. Chaos, man.
What's the fun with it?
Nah, 7 years in a holiday residence. Just get to do what we want. Do you know what I mean? Nobody look after us for that.
10 seconds.
What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly.
And welcome back to Saturday Football Live, joined in the studio by Des Roach and Johnny Bailey. Remember, get us on WhatsApp at 07396 717 412. That's 07396 717 412. Or get us on X and Instagram at Sat Football Live. And you can get us on YouTube. Any questions you want to ask us, then we're always available. Games are just kicking off in the West of Scotland. we'll see a couple of shocks probably today. I think that there could be a couple on the cards. Will we see Clydebank get a step closer to winning the league? Potentially. I think actually looking at potentially could they win the league today if results go their way. They're sitting 12 points clear. Johnson Borough, nah, it's still too early. Next Saturday is the first time they can win the league. So are we going to see Clydebank go a step closer today or not? Third division, Greenup, Arthle, spoken to Gary Fleming, the Greenup manager. Something we've already touched on is the fact that they've not had a win in the last 5 games. So here's what Fleming had to say on that.
Outside of looking in, you think the fact we've not won the last 4 games, the confidence would be really, really low. Far from it, like me for one, first of all, I've got so much confidence in the boys. I've seen how they played against Kilsyth and Glenvale and others, and knowing that they should have been more at the game than they actually did. What I would say is that they're hurting after last week. 4-1 was a bit of a gubbin. But I'm looking for that kind of wounded animal mentality. Is often they're the most dangerous ones, and I want to see them actually bounce back and show that they want to go over that defeat as soon as possible. And I've had the confidence in the way I've watched the boys train this week that they're going to go out and give me absolutely everything.
I suppose it doesn't seem too worried. We've got our kick-offs on the way. Just looking...
A gubbin, great.
A gubbin. Good
Love it.
old fashioned word.
Love it.
Looking at the picture from the Girvan and Dorai game down at Girvan, it looks tremendous.
Oh, it's a beautiful place in the world. It's nice down there.
Absolutely tremendous.
Just hope there's no wind.
It's not usually that bad down there, to be fair.
I always find it windy down at Girvan.
It's no car look, anyway.
No.
I tell you what, the worst one, and you go to see it, it's Northgrowth.
Oh, no.
I've never been up there.
Oh, it's horrendous.
I remember.
You've got to take a shine. You actually get hit by the sea.
Right, well, do you remember the Celtic winger Brian McLaughlin?
We Brian McLaughlin, yeah.
Brian Eddie. So Eddie was the school football coach with us once in a previous school I worked in, and he said to me one time, we were up there, I'd mentioned the game, and he said, "I get hit by a wave one day," and I thought he was meaning like a fan was trying to wave and give him a high five. He said, "No, I was taking a corner and a wave came over, and I thought, nah, that's not right." Sure enough, the first time I was up there, the chairman was on the ground with me saying, "If you want to call the game off, we've already got the tickets to give the fans back to get free entry for them." This is before the game.
That's insane, isn't it?
Yeah, it was wild.
You just think they were nearly in the Premier League a couple of years ago.
I
mean, so close to getting into the Premier League. I think nothing against Arbroath. I have absolutely no connection or feeling towards Arbroath, but probably the best that they did now, because imagine trying to sell that to players. You're Celtic or Rangers, and you're trying to bring in an internationalist, multi-million-pound player. And like, you can play up at Arbroath though, you get smashed with a wave, you're taking a throw in. I've asked Flemmy if today is a must-win in terms of promotion, particularly playing against Arthle, who are in the hunt for it, and Arthle have really turned it on. Thorn have got the league wrapped up. It looks so improbable that they won't win it. I mean, the fact that they've lost 3, 4, 5 games less than the teams about them and won 3, 4, 5 games more, it's very unlikely. Greenup, on the other hand, have dropped out of the promotion spots, but a win today would put them back into it ahead of Arthle with a game in hand. So let's see what Flemmy had to say on whether this is a must-win or not.
I wouldn't call us Saturday against Arthle a must-win. Technically, mathematically, it's fully still within our hands. We've got 7 games still to play, so a lot could happen. I learned that after my first season in management last year, that 7 games at this stage of the season with so many different promotion rivals still all to play each other, so much is going to happen. So it's not a must-win, but we want to win as many as we can in them 7. And if we beat Arthle, then it could be the springboard and catalyst that really gets us over the line. But our season's not done by a long shot if we don't get that result.
I think that it's a must not lose today. I think that's the big thing, is a must not lose. Couple of goals coming in. We have Kello Rovers have taken the lead against Easterhouse, a penalty in the first minute. Yoker, under the new management with Dom O'Donnell taking the team, have also gone ahead after a penalty Ross McDonald with a penalty there. They're 1-0 up against Cambuslang, which in terms of that game, that's a huge one for Yoker to just push themselves away from the relegation spot. They're 5 points clear as it stands away from Cambuslang or at the start of the day. Winning that puts them 8 points clear with a game in hand. I think they're looking safe, and Cambuslang really need to hope that the Ants don't beat Bellshill and Lismahago and Forth don't get wins today, because they could potentially be sitting second bottom of the league after today, and it's hard to see where they're going to come back for that. On Flemmy, Johnny, what do you think? He's saying that it's not a must win. Do you believe it's not a must win, or do you believe that it's getting to that stage where it actually could be?
I don't think it's a must win, because nothing's decided after 25 games, but it's got a lot more importance than probably any other game this season so far, I would say, for them. You know, so it's one of those kind of awkward ones where you don't consider it a must win, but as you guys said, it's probably must not lose, you know, and keep yourself in the hunt, because if they lose today, the gap becomes even wider, and yes, they've still got a game in hand, but that 5 games without a win becomes 6, you know, and then it just, things grow arms and legs. So they need to get they probably need to get something from the game, even if it's just a point.
A loss takes to a 6 point gap.
It becomes
a 6 point gap, and as we said, games in hand don't mean points in hand.
particularly when you've not won in 6 games.
Exactly.
So Paul Smith on YouTube, Paul, thanks for tuning in, mate. He said if Johnson Borough lose today and the Bankies win, then Clydebank win the league, and Clydebank have just gone 1-0 up. Not Nicky Little though. Keir Sampson with a goal. So thanks Paul, and thanks to Tracy, and thanks to Steve. That's 3 updates we've had for that Clydebank goal.
I think for me it's Benburn. Do you know what I mean? This is just,
it's a helter-skelter.
Oh,
It just seems
like,
to be unraveling.
For me, there is no way Clydebank are losing today. Now it's one of those commentator curses. There's no way they're losing. Cumnock though, picking up a wee bit of form. See, if you're Murdy, you're saying his players do not lose this today, because we're not going to have Clydebank winning the league today because of us. They have to go and win it next week themselves.
And it's also Murdy getting back to his old team.
That's right.
That's
I
where he came
didn't think of that.
Murdy getting back down there. So do you think Murdy, for at any moment in time, is going to get down there and not have his team fired up? He's going down there to do the job for Johnson Borough, but he's got a lot of personal pride in this game as well.
Definitely. So that's 1-0 there. We'll get. We're just talking about the second division, third division. Sorry, with how important that is at the top of the table. But then you've got. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong division. Second division. We're talking about how important that is for Yoker beating Cambuslang. And Cambuslang need results to go away. Lismahago have just taken the lead against Bonnin, so Lismahago, as it stands, go ahead of Cambuslang out of the relegation zone, and that drops the Ants into relegation. Cambuslang still there, so it's interesting. Glenafton have taken the lead against Shotts. That's 1-0. Thornywood are already 2-0 up against Blantyre, and Thornywood get themselves right back in the hunt. Do they have enough to get it there? If they win today, they go 37 points. See, to be honest, they're not done. If they win today, they've got a lot of games to play. They've still got 10 games left to play.
I think when you look at Thornywood though, their goal ratio is 0. Scored 40, lost 40.
Average 2 a game and 2 against the game.
That's the bit that gets me, is the goals against, not so much the goals for. They've got 10 games to go, so I mean, there's 30 points still to play for. It's not inconceivable that they can be right in amongst it. I just don't expect to see them in amongst it.
Nah, I don't know. Probably a little too late for them. A lot to do. We'll move on to our final featured fixture, and that is Knightswood and Rossville. We touched at length about, for the last year, like you say, Johnny, Michael and Josh are probably the 2 managers who have been on here the most. They are very, win, lose or draw, they're very open and very good to come on, so it's something that we really appreciate. I wonder what we'll see today in this game, because Knightswood, they've had their wee dip, and I'm going to put it on a second. I asked Michael Pender about their dip, losing last week to St Peters, drawing the week before with Kello, edging past Carluke the week before 2-1, then edging past Easterhouse 1-0, and losing to Royal Albert 1-0. They're not scoring a lot of goals now. They were free flowing and they're really not scoring a lot of goals. Particularly, it's been strange. It's since they beat Port Glasgow, it's like almost taking the foot off the gas. Isn't it?
I don't know. I imagine Michael wouldn't agree with you and say they've taken their foot off the gas.
But that's how it would possibly appear.
How it could appear, yeah, as if they maybe beat Port Glasgow and thought subconsciously that's the job done kind of thing. But what they've done over the last few weeks is really opened the door for Port Glasgow. And to be fair to the Port, they've taken advantage of it and putting the pressure right on them now. But it'll be a great game to watch, I think, today. I think if I was in the area and I was looking for a good game of football to go and watch, I think Knightswood v Rossville would probably be quite high up on my list of entertaining games to go and see.
Yeah, and what you can guarantee is, we said earlier, it's going to be an open and expansive game because neither Michael nor Josh set their teams up to be defensive. You look at the quality of the players that are on the pitch as well. Yeah, if we weren't stuck in this sweltering studio, I think I'd be heading across to the West End of Glasgow and picking this game up.
In the second division, we have an interesting goal. Muirkirk have won down to Maryhill, so Maryhill have taken the lead there.
That's another good
After beating Wlets only a few weeks ago, they have taken the lead early on against Muirkirk. I think that Mark's done a decent job this season. After done a great job after that 12 games without a win, and they're now 100% clear of relegation. So I think it would be.
It's madness to think how what we were speaking about them when we were doing the pod, PG, about how what a stinking run they were on and how bad it was. And I remember we said maybe at Christmas, do you just tell the boys to stay away for a couple of weeks and just pretend like we've never met each other and it's a brand new season? Because whatever he's done, I'd love to speak to him and find out what did you do, because that's such a bad run that you were on. How have you managed to change that round? Because it's fantastic.
And what I think, Dave, as well, you've got to give absolute credit to the Maryhill committee sticking by him.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it would be so easy to be very reactional when you see a run of negative results. And if I'm not wrong, I'm sure he's signed up again for next year.
Yeah,
I think it was 100 games in charge or something.
Maybe 2 or 3 games, you know.
Yeah, so again, absolutely, first of all, congratulations to Mark, and I hope that he continues it. But well done at the Maryhill committee, because it's so easy to see somebody just say, right, well, not good enough, see you later. Got to show the faith in this young guy. As you said, I would love to know what he done with that squad at Christmas time.
Maybe it was just a break they needed, and it was enough for them at that time. I've asked Michael Pender about the dip that they've had and how they're feeling kind of with that fact that they were in a great position and then they've had the wee drop. Here's what he said to say in it.
The squad are doing well. We've had a fantastic week of training. The boys have responded in exactly the manner that they've hoped and they've come to expect from them. We know we ourselves down badly on Saturday against St Peter's, taking nothing away from what they achieved, but it was way below the standards that we set ourselves. The couple of goals that we lost were very uncharacteristic from 2 of the boys that have been our best performers this whole season. So hard to be critical when you've been excellent all year round. But the boys have responded exactly how you would have hoped as a manager, and we're really looking forward to the game this.
Couple of updates coming in there. Renfruit have taken the lead against Arthle, not against Conan, it's against Arthle.
And your boy Gillespie scored as well.
Jojo is on fire. What a job there. That's nothing against Arthle. Renfruit are my local side, and I've always had a soft spot for them. I would be quite happy to see Renfruit win, and in terms of keeping it interesting in the first division, it'd be great. Des, you gave us a wee update there off air. What's the score?
Toby just commences. It's now 2-0 to 3 against Finart.
There's lots going on at the background at Finart. I think it's not something I'll touch on yet, but there will be things happening coming out at Finart that I think they're in a wee bit of transition just now. I think that Finart are a really good club who are trying to build a good base and a solid base, but their seasons kind of fell away. They looked like they're a real good shout after the New Year's for potentially pushing for promotion.
Are they going to get their own park?
I don't know. I know that there's stuff in the works. I don't really know a great deal about it, but look, I think that
I hope so, because it's not a good experience going up there, and I know I hope Toby's not listening. I'm sorry if he is, but I mean, you're turning up there, you kind of get on the park to certain times because there's games on to warm up, and then you get tiny wee area to warm up in and stuff like that. It's just, for me, it's no befitting football at this level, in my opinion.
It breaks your routine because the guys know at 1:20 they're going for the warm up, and you get the area set up, and you can move the transitions. So yeah, it's a bit.
And by the way, the manager's still so great guy. You know, really nice guy.
Yeah.
I got on really well with him. So, and he had a really good team when we played against them in the third division. So, it'd be good to see them progress.
Stephen Docherty with the goal that puts Pollock 1-0 up against Drumchapel. Their excellent run of form continues. Harry Officer, I feel like I mention this boy every week. Without ever having seen him playing, I think he's probably my favourite player in the west of Scotland. I just mention him all the time. He scored the first goal for 3. Les Mehigo are now 2-0 up against Bonneton. 2-1. Okay, I'm just behind. Like I said, 2-1 there it is there. Vale Leaving have gone 1-0 up. That's quite an interesting one for Vale Leaving. Playing against Thorn. I feel like Thorn have been doing this a bit, dropping behind recently, but they've got enough quality to go and win games, and I don't think they're in any danger of not winning that league like we touched on. Canvas Lang have pulled one back against Shoker, so it's now 1-1. Callum Graham puts Beath 1-0 up against Caddock. First game officially in charge for Sean Dillon, so that's a great start for him. Dylan Kearney with his second goal for 3. Another one that
Hurford are 1-0 up against Darville.
1-0 Hurford take the lead. And the Meda have scored from a corner, directly from a corner against Cumbernauld. So the Meda 1-0 up, which is a really big one considering Rob Roy lost last night.
Oh, by the way, I saw there was 700 and odd at that game last night. Unbelievable.
That's sensational.
Do you know, but that just shows you, see if you've got the capacity and the ability to do it, have more games on Friday nights.
Yeah.
You know, because 100%. People, especially when the weather's beautiful just now, it's not always like that, as we know, but nice night last night, when it is, people will come out and watch, they'll look for something to do, take the kids to, go and watch a game of football.
I could guarantee you, see a Friday night game under the floodlights at Renfruit would get a massive crowd the whole time.
Well, imagine this game was last night.
Oh,
the weather's decent.
There's a bar at Renfruit, they've got the expansive area around it. It's packed.
And the thing is, as well, with Renfruit, they're fortunate that their town centre, the transport systems, there's no train station, but in terms of bus links, it's a pretty decent place to get to. It's pretty easy to get to through Braehead.
You're a 10-minute walk from where New Western Park is to Renfrew Cross. You're a 10-minute walk.
It's nice and easy.
Get games on Friday nights, everybody. Come on, let's do it.
I know we also had the Under-20s Cup final last night. We've got tomorrow, really big one with East Kilbride and the Talbot, which we'll touch on later on. Adam Fordy puts Pollock 2-0 up, 15 minutes in against Drumchapel. Irvin Vicks have taken the lead against Lugar. That was Alessandro Cervesi with a goal there. 3-0 to Glasgow Uni against Wishaw. Their season goes from bad to worse. Now we are at the stage before our next break. It's time for you to step up, my man. It is time for Des's quiz. Now, Johnny, I'm glad I've got you because the last couple of weeks I don't feel like I've been helped out very much. So I'm really glad that you are back, and it is time for Des's quiz. Des, let's go. Let's have it. What we're looking at today?
Better put the specs on to beat more writing. Well, I lost one question prior to the show before we even started. But okay, here we go. Prior to Moff going at Clydebank, who was their manager?
Kieran McInnesby.
Johnny?
Yep, no, he's right, because I managed against them. So
yeah.
We actually beat them. One of my very few victories at Troon, we actually beat Clydebank at home.
There you go then. Well, right in.
It's an easy. I've had to dumb it down because he's been greeting all week. How he never wins that quiz. So it's like, that way you need to soothe a baby.
But Des, you're firing out stuff like who in
1974 Cup final
groups number 2 for
Bailliston. Teams that don't even exist anymore.
I've tried to keep it relevant to your sort of age group. Right. Johnny and I are a bit older, but
what age are you, Johnny?
I'm 39. I'll be 40 this year.
I'm
very hard.
And I'm 37.
Lots of house.
Should I start 50 next year?
I know you look better than this, to be
fair. You do.
Okay. Which West of Scotland team play at the Synergy Arena?
Oh, that'd be Bonneton.
Bonneton, yeah.
I love that stadium. Do you know what? Actually, Josh Gardner messaged me last Sunday. He was listening to the show back, and he said he loved the career path questions.
you know what? I was trying to get one a day, so I'll bring that back up next
He really enjoyed that. So that's just a wee one for a wee bit in,
Intel.
until a wee
Right, Josh, I'll look at that next week.
feedback.
You could do yours, PJ, but to be fair, I've only got 4
Aye.
hours.
The book's not big enough for
Okay. Ex-Celtic legend Danny McGrain
that. Right.
was farmed out to play junior football. For which team?
This is one I've heard before. And I don't remember who it is, but that's a good question. Johnny, you get any?
I'm going to say, I know they sent Kenny Douglas to
Cumbernauld.
Cumbernauld, didn't they? I'm going to say Vela Clyde.
Villa Clyde. A part of me wants to say Mary Hill because I know that Danny's from that area. Or he had a shop in that area because my mum told me she used to go into his shop. Do you know what? We'll go for Villa Clyde. Then
If you want to pick your own, you can pick
I'll
your
go
own.
for. Do you know what? I'll just.
Because we don't know. So.
we don't. I'll say Mary Hill then.
It was Mary Hill.
Yes.
3 out of 3, flying.
Which team play at the John Cumming Stadium?
Oh, it's
Carluck.
Windy Carluck.
Carluck. 4 out of 4. Just keep not always.
I told you I've come back to my own questions next week, my real stuff. Right, okay. Who scored the winning goal in the 2023 Junior Cup final?
No clue. Don't even know who was playing.
2023.
I can't even get any more
Was
recent.
2023, was that Yoker and Auchinleck?
It may have been. Or was that? I did a video with me and Dak did a video with Yoker the week they played the Talbot in that cup final, and I don't remember when we did it.
I think it was Yoker and Auchinleck because I was in a stag do with Kyle Maxwell, who played with Yoker at the time, and he was talking about it the next year. So I'm going to say Keir Sampson.
Was it 2-1 to the Talbot that day?
Is it wrong? You tell me.
Because I
I've
think.
give you 4 gimmies already.
So who you saying?
I'm
Keir
saying Keir
Sampson?
Sampson.
Don't know. We'll go with Keir Sampson.
Finlay Fry, Cumnock and Glencairn.
Oh.
90 plus.
90 plus minute.
So when was
That'd
that
been
the year
22
before?
then. That'd been the year before. Been the year before. Aye. Well, fair enough. Is that us?
That's us.
I mean, that-
I didn't have who's just taking over it. Yoker as a new management deal.
Oh, you didn't even know that until we came in
It's
this
funny,
morning.
I know, because I saw the post and didn't read it properly, and I know Dom really well.
And he's friends with my wife.
So he's Dom.
It'll be Dom Jolly the day because they're winning.
Well, what now?
Oh, they've won now.
Dom actually ignores he's a taxi driver and he ignores my calls because a couple of times I've tried to get him to pick me up after nights out, and then
To be
I've
fair,
been
I'd ignore your calls at 4 in the morning.
I've been that drunk that when he's turned up, I've not been there. So
Arthle is 1 each now.
1-1.
Tam McGaughey off the transfer list and in amongst the goals.
Maybe a wee change of heart there for Tam then.
Mm-hmm.
But look, Des, that was more my kind of level. I like that today.
I'll
It was a bit easy for me
But
then.
don't go too hard next week then to try and prove some sort of point.
That's 1-0 to Knightswood.
Who was the career path? Who was that? You got it there?
Have you got for last week? You can ask Johnny. Shows he wasn't listening last week. That's good.
I was by the way, I was getting absolutely soaked last week for the
That's
benefit
true.
of this show. So
Right, so okay, the career path last week.
Sorry, 1-0 to Largs against Gartcairn. There's on you go.
And it was Granger who scored for Knightswood. And
At the
it's
Port
now,
have just gone 1-up.
it's now 1-2. It's now 2-1.
2-1 Arthle.
Mark
Two.
Taylor.
Wow. Right, Des, on you go.
Right, Johnny. Career path last week from year 2000. Celtic, Maryhill, Pollock, Arthle, Irvine Meadow, Arthle.
like, we can carry on.
So I did this last week and I don't even remember who it is. So
Hey, you can carry on. I'll think about it.
I'll give you everything. What I will say is, show on YouTube, Johnny brought in the Silver Patch Kids and I absolutely love these, man. But it's a shame that the rapple's so loud. I think that the last 2 weeks the biscuits have not been quite the same.
Oh, they're good. Those signature ones.
I picked them up because I know Des likes them.
Aye.
Oh, you're hiding biscuits, Nicole. I'll keep them for. They're probably for next week then.
You'll be lucky that I've done.
Are they?
Aye.
Because that like an absolute everything gets leathered in here, and then we took a few weeks where we had to ease back. So today we have wine gums and Sour Patch Kids. Sats and Foxes cookies, lovely. And then we've got our signature, McVitie's signatures, the caramel ones. And we have a chocolate Leibniz. I like these. These are good. We chocolate Leibniz. I like these. I feel privileged here on East End Community Radio that we are the only people I think that are allowed to eat in the studio. I don't think Toby lets anybody else eat in the studio, so I'm privileged that they allows us to eat. So we've been through all our games. Do you know, I actually think this is good timing. I just mentioned that Largs, a Wilson goal was put them 1-0 up against Gartcairn. I spoke to new co-manager Ryan McStay at Gartcairn. He's in with Darren Barr, that not played at our level, but most people know Darren played with Hearts and also a Scotland internationalist, a very good player. But I've asked McStay how his time at Gartcairn has been so far. Here's what he had to say on that.
Myself and Dan have really enjoyed it. All the boys I've got in the middle are attacking slowly, but these who really like to play. Again, there's only 3 sessions and a final against Glenburn on Saturday, so we are starting to get to know them all, the players individually and then as players too. It's been a tough time to take over with only 6 games to go. 4 being away games with others around us, have a few games more. But Mick and Paddy have assembled a brilliant squad and did a fantastic job in the last few years. If I'm being honest, if the club didn't get a 15-point reduction, I fully believe myself and Dan would be here, as the club would have been around the top 4 without the distraction of the point reduction. The club has plans to kick on and off the park. We believe with the connections both in the senior game and myself around the West setup, we will assemble a right squad to take in there. The committee have been different tasks with us, and we will work together to make an exciting team on the park. Again, since we got announced last Tuesday, my phone has been absolutely red hot. People will obviously well wishes and people saying about certain players that might be available, so look forward to an exciting end to the season and then start planning for pre-season and kick on no matter what league we're in. But with all this talk of reconstruction that has been spoken about last week, it'd be good to get an end to that and obviously just say the plans for the start of next season.
I'm going to say this because I'm pal with McStay, and I know that if Dak listens to this, then he'll come after McStay. That was a well-read statement.
Yeah,
A very well-read statement. He's maybe his first bit of media work there, and he's very trying to get it right because he's a good guy. McStay. Also, Paul Smith, who is a member of the channel, which is really appreciated. Paul, thank you very much for that. He's saying chocolate Leibniz are the best, and I think they're right up there. Remember, if you want to be a member of the channel, it would help us out greatly. You can just go on and click in. There's 2 membership type models. One of them will be kind of like a members only comment. One's really just to help the show out, trying to maintain decent standards and prices. I'm not gonna lie, prices have gone up, so it's really just to see if you could help us out with that. But when we get more members, we're going to start doing shows that only members can interact with us on, and I think it's a great thing, and it'd be really good for people who are members, and it's a way of us showing our appreciation for that. So get yourself on and become a member if you can. It would make a massive difference to personally my bank balance, because it costs me a lot of money to do this. So thanks if you want to do that. But look, we're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be back with the rest of the first half scores when we come back. But look, thank you very much for listening as always, and we'll be back right after these. 717412. You can get us on X and Instagram at SatFootballLive, or you can get onto YouTube and get into the comments and speak to myself and the guys. Any questions you want to ask us, don't hesitate to get in touch. We're more than happy to answer any questions. If you've got any thoughts on the reconstruction of the Tier 5 setup, we've looked a fair amount into it. I'd say we're in a decent position in terms of knowledge. We don't know everything, and a lot of what we're saying, since I get chinned for it on Twitter recently, it's not always completely perfectly accurate, but it's the best info we have at hand. So we're more than happy to talk about that. If anybody wants to bring any comments up, or if you want to talk about your team, if you're a Pollock fan and you're listening in, 3-0 up against Drumchapel, Adam Fordy with the third goal, Kevin Nicholson off for Drumchapel, looking like a great day for Pollock and a terrible day for the Drum.
Hurford, one each now.
Darville have just scored there as well. So if you want to talk about any of these games or anything at all, get in touch with us. Campbelltown have gone 1-0 up against Eglinton as well. It's a bit of a surprise one for me with the Pollock game. 3-0. They've had a really good run recently. Pollock picking up good wins. I'm a bit surprised though because the Drum are they've had a great season. Ewan McIver, I feel like he's another boy who I mentioned most weeks on here. He has scored for Lugar from the spot to make it 1-1. And New Mains have taken the lead. Mark Cuthbertson scores a penalty against East Kilbride. So Glenvale go 1-0 up against Glasgow Perthshire. Quite interesting at that bottom of the table. So we'll talk about...
What about Ryan McStay?
Ryan McStay and...
So, Kenny and I spoke about this in the pod on Sunday, and see the thing is, you look at that squad, that Gap Cairn squad, and it's chock full of talented players. And for whatever reason, maybe the distraction with deduction and whatever, but Mick wasn't getting the best out of that squad in terms of winning games. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that team goes on and wins every game from now to the end of the season, because they've got a squad talented enough to go and do it. And would that then be enough for them to not finish in the relegation spots is the question. But it's going to be really interesting to see how they start today.
I think if they won the 6 games, they would definitely avoid relegation. And I agree with what you're saying there. The sentiment in it is that their squad is good enough to do that. I don't think they will. And I also think that just based on the fact that they have so few games remaining, I don't see them staying up. But that's like McStay touched on with his interview there. They don't know what's happening with relegation. It's looking like they won't go down due to the reconstruction.
Do they have a license? No,
they don't have a license.
Have they got lights?
They've got lights. Yeah, they've got, because they have the kids trained there, and that's
Do
where
you know
they
what's refreshing about that for this Gap Cairn appointment is they haven't just went down the old boys club. They've actually went and brought somebody fresh into the league. They went and give somebody an opportunity. Ryan McStay and Dan Barr, I mean,
good calibre.
Absolutely, to see two vastly experienced players playing at the top level of Scottish football.
Has Ryan managed it elsewhere?
So he did a really good job. Him and Darren did a really good job at Airdrie 18s, I think it was. Made him a really good side. But he's not managed anywhere. But you look at...
Is it not then very similar to Mick taking over then?
No, quite similar. And I know that there was the interview with James Craney, who was the old assistant at East Stirling, who I went to school with James.
Stirling Albion.
Stirling Albion. I went to school with James. They played football at youth level. And I think that shows where they were at in terms of what they're looking for. And I think that's quite forward-thinking guys in their mid to late 30s that they're looking to bring, who've got good calibre about them, played at a good level, understand the game. So I do. You never know. It could be a complete flop. It doesn't work for them.
But they've tried.
It's something I would take my hat off to the committee at Gap Cairn for.
I think where are they? So see, for me, there's two ways to look at it. They've brought in obviously players with bags and bags of senior experience that will have those contacts and able to. And if they're still going to go and try and target those types of players, that's fine. But if they're bringing their budgets down or whatever, if that's happening, then you're looking at, would it maybe have been better to go and get somebody that's already in the West of Scotland League that knows the teams round about, that can go and pluck players for here and there, because I don't imagine whilst Ryan and Darren will have great contacts senior wise, they might not know as much about the actual West of Scotland League.
I mean, Ryan played with Pollock for a while.
He played with Pollock, played with the Rock as well. So I'd say McStay's got a pretty good understanding at this level. I couldn't speak for Darville. I don't know him personally, so I don't know what his knowledge is like. But I would like to think, and even though I did speak to McStay last night, I never asked them about players or anything like that. I would like to think that they know better than to just try and bring a whole load of players down, because that doesn't work.
I think
That doesn't work.
they'd be looking at bringing players up the way.
Mhm.
Now, a friend of mine, his son is involved with Airdrie 16s, so they're going to know your Airdries and your Celtics and your Rangers and stuff. They're going to know boys are there. And when you talk about budgets being cut across the board, Gartcairn are, I assume, one of the better paying teams. But if they're cutting their budgets, so are the other teams.
Mhm.
So they can't go and offer player X the same amount of money that they could. So it's almost, as one cuts, they're all cutting. So they're all coming down with the same amount of percentages, I thought. So the players have then got to realise it's not what they used to get. It's not the cup of golden honey at the end of the road. So
Well, guys, as it stands, Clydebank are going to win the league today. Cumnock have taken the lead against Johnson Borough. So Cumnock have won that against Johnson Borough. Drumchapel, after being 3 down and a man down, are now 3-1 down. Bellshill have scored from the spot. PJ O'Donnell puts them ahead of the Ants. Quite an interesting one here that Martin Montgomery is up against the man who he replaced. So Johnny Fallon's Bellshill team are 1-0 up. Noah Young scored an absolute belter last week. I actually meant to put it on. The socials. Scored an absolutely brilliant goal for Glenville last week. He just scored again. I genuinely think that he's one that clubs should be, not to try and steal players away from Glenville, but that's one that players should be looking at. St Peter's Max Devine puts them 1-0 up against Royal Albert. Looks like Kenny's starting to turn that a wee bit. Maybe it's just been the Johnny Bailey effect being on the show with you, but he's starting to turn the corner with them. And
he was very positive about his team. He was saying that I think they're 8 unbeaten going into today, and obviously last week they gave them massive amounts of confidence as well. But I think he's talking to him. He's definitely looking at it. This year was just about putting a team together that boys can see can be competitive, and then building it from there. So he's probably ahead of where he thought he was going to be. But then I think they're definitely going to be one to watch next year.
I think they could be as well.
Just as you're saying there about Clydebank win the league, if Knightswood win today, they're promoted.
Well, there you go then.
That's that confirmed.
Well, there you go. That's interesting. 1-1 with Muirkirk and Maryhill is now 3-0 to Thrieve against Finnart. So it's not been a great.
That's a big one for Thrieve though as well, because they were like 3 without a win. Again, similar to Rutherglen, they don't play anybody else above them in the league after they play Ardea. So they'll be hoping to put together a run. And I was talking to Kenny about this on Sunday, and I don't know if you guys can remember, but did this happen last year where Thrieve were looking really good for promotion and then fell away towards the end of the season? Aye.
The Ants did not waste any time. They've replied right away. 1-1 with the Ants and Bellshill. As I just said, Muirkirk have equalised against Maryhill. Really important one there. Luger, Ewan McIver again. What's Ewan like as a player?
When he first came to us, George brought him in from Maybole under-20s, and I actually coached him at Maybole under-20s for a brief period. Well, not coached him, I was just kind of helping out with him. And I always liked him, and I told George, I says, look, bring him in, have a look at him. Very raw, didn't really understand how to play striker, if that makes sense, especially at this level against men that are not giving you any time and stuff like that. But what I really like about him is, and what I love strikers that just want to score goals. And that's what he's like. Anytime he gets the ball, he's thinking, how can I get a shot away? How can I score a goal? And it's starting to pay dividends now with it going on from this season. So I think he's still got a lot to learn. He's still very raw, but he's a good finisher.
He scored a lot of goals this season. Particularly the second half of the season, he scored a lot of goals.
Yeah, definitely got a hat-trick last week as well. So, he's got raw talent. And I would say Luger going forward in that league, the 3 boys they've got up top, Conan Mackin, Ewan and Ethan Craig, will cause problems for any team in that league because they've got bags of pace and they want to score goals. So
was it last week a hat-trick?
9-4.
In 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
That was quite the game last week.
It was incredible.
13 goals. When was the last time you had a game with that many goals?
I was even thinking see the wee ticker I've got at the bottom of the screen from the pod. I was going to write the word 9 in, like they do in Sky Sports, you know. Just aye.
No, it's Ross Irvin with a goal for 3. Something I've touched on is they really impressed me, 3, with the amount of goals they get from different goal scorers. You have like the main man, the best player in the world, Harry Officer. You've got Ross Irvin, Dylan Craney. The 3 of them all scored today. They score regularly. Kilburn have gone 1-0 up against Petershill. An own goal has put them 1-0 up in that game there. Bede are now 2-0 up against St Cadoc's. Lewis Lovren with the goal there.
Petershill have actually just scored.
Yes, just 12 seconds ago. Instantly, Petershill make it level. That's what Kilburn have got on the. And Greenup have taken the lead in the 43rd minute against Arthle. It's a really, really important goal for Greenup. And does it mean that we're all going to be wrong? That's a huge goal for them in that division. That would put them, like I said earlier, on to 45 points and a goal clear of Arthle with a game in hand. And you have Coolside, they're still drawing just now. So Coolside technically sits second in the league. 2-1 to Maryhill after Muirkirk had equalised. Maryhill have gone 2-1 up. A sore one for Muirkirk. Is that pressure getting to them, or is it just a simple fact that Maryhill being in a good bit of form right now?
I think it's maybe a bit of both, and it might even be I can only shudder to think what that Maryhill Park's looking like after.
It's at Muirkirk.
Oh, it's at Muirkirk, right? Okay, right. No, that's all right then. Because that I can't imagine the Maryhill Park's looking in great nick after last week. No,
it's Lockburn struggles at the best of
them. I know.
St Peters with Mitchell Rooney have gone 2-0 up against Royal Albert away as well. That's a really impressive first half for me, because Royal Albert are a decent side, and
St Peters are on the high from beating Knightswood last week as well.
But this result for me shows as well that it wasn't a fluke, that there is quality in this Knightswood team. And I know in terms of the league they're sitting 9th. As it stands, they've actually just moved up into 8th place, sitting mid-table. But I think that's a really good run that they're on just now. That one, if they win today,
9.
Aye, so that'll be then 10 wins, 5 draws, 9 defeats. And they're really starting to turn it around a wee bit.
I was really impressed with Kenny. I really liked him on the show. I thought he was good, and it was interesting to hear about his own kind of coaching journey and how he kind of fell into St Peters' job, if you like, so to speak. But he's sounds like he's really enjoying it.
It's now 2-0 to Knightswood.
2-0. Well, that's
44 minutes.
I think that's you guys are going to be right with that one. I'm wrong today, sadly. We got a question in for Lee Bamford. Says, after last night's result, what do you reckon Rob Roy's chances are of avoiding relegation? Now that we're on the same games played as Mabel and a point behind, it's looking even more difficult. What do we think on that?
Well, my best pal's the manager of Mabel, so I'm hoping that Rob Roy go down. Sorry, Lee. No, I think it's going to be incredibly tight. I don't think they play each other in the running. I might be wrong. Obviously today it'll be really interesting. Mabel are away to co-winning, so it'll be really interesting to see if Mabel can pick anything up from that to kind of put the pressure on. But I know Mabel play every medal last game of the season, so it's going to come right down to the wire. But
so it could go to the very wire, because Rob Roy have Vela Clyde in the final game of the season, and there's a good chance Vela Clyde.
If you were looking at Vela Clyde v Rob Roy and Mabel v every medal, that could be too crap.
At the final day of the season, I mean, that's 17th of May, and I'm just realising I'm actually missing the show that day. So Des, you'll need to step up and be the top dog that day. I'm absolutely gutted to miss it.
I'm not even the top dog. I mean, football.
Oh well, you need to be in here. You need to step up.
I think when you look at those fixtures though, and you see how close they are at this moment in time.
And Meadow are 2-0 up today, so you're assuming that
they're looking in a position where the Meadow have games in hand, and they're now sitting in. If Kilburn don't hold on to the point, they're now sitting in 10th place. It's an amazing turnaround.
See, when you actually look at the figures with Mabel and Rob Roy, they're almost identical. I mean, they're minus 10 goals. There's 1 point between the two of them. Yeah, this I think this one's going to go to the wire.
Now, thanks a lot for your question there, Lee. If anybody else has got a question, remember, get us on WhatsApp at 07396 717 412, or you can get us on the comments section on YouTube Live. Talking about league reconstruction, do you know what? We'll come back to that later. Actually, we'll go for Darville and Johnson Borough. Just a wee quick touch on it. The fact that I think it is, I have said that with the league reconstruction, that the league are trying their best with this. There's not much they can do right now. They just need to wait and see how it plays out, and hopefully they're putting plans in place. But in terms of the Johnson Darville thing, I think it's shambolic that this isn't decided yet. It's not been announced yet.
That was appalling.
So, I mean, that was 2 weeks ago.
Are you telling me that a match that is so crucial to both teams? Okay, we know Clydebank are going to win the league, right? Take that aside. For where Darville are in the league, points games are of an absolute premium at this moment in time in the league. The referee's report would have been submitted on the Sunday. That's the nature that has to be done. Are you telling me that the league can't convene a meeting really quickly, whether it's done in person, whether it's done over Zoom, and get a decision? Because it's really not good enough that these teams are sitting there in limbo. That Darville, now, as we said before, Johnson Borough created an error, right? It's an error. It's not an offence, it's an error, because I don't believe for a minute that Murphy or any of his team tried to pull a blanket. It's just a genuine error. Darville have done nothing wrong as well. Why can't this be sorted? Because I can guarantee if a player was sent off, the ban would already be through.
Well, we heard that they were meeting on Tuesday, and it was the top topic of discussion at the meeting. So if they've had that meeting on Tuesday, assuming they've had both the written statements that they've asked for from both clubs, which I'd imagine they would have. So why has there not been a decision, and why has it not been communicated to anybody? It's like you said, they have from Tuesday to now. I don't know. I can't see what they're waiting on.
No.
You know, I don't understand. You always try and think of mitigating factors, like maybe they're waiting on this, or maybe they've not received that information, but I can't see what is the hold up.
They definitely will have everything in for the referees and the clubs. We are going to go to Jordan Orr at Cumnock and Johnson Borough. 1-0 to Cumnock as it stands at the moment.
PG, how stands?
All good, mate. You must be pretty happy. 1-0 to Cumnock. How has the first half been?
Delighted to be up in the break, mate. I've got to say, Johnson Borough's had the lion's share of possession. Obviously, a very, very good team. But to be fair, they've not really done too much with it. There's been a couple of saves here and there at both sides of the park. But as I say, for all the time that they've had the ball, they've not really cut us open. Our goal came for a corner that's been come into the box, and we've a wee bit of a ricochet kind of thing. But ultimately, it's ended up in the back of the net, and we're in at the break in the league. So let's see how obviously we can go in the second half and kind of hold the lead and hopefully go and build on it as well.
That'll be, if the game continues as is, 3 wins in a row for Cumnock, and it must be, from your perspective as a Cumnock man, must be particularly pleased with how the guys are going about the end of the season.
100%, PJ. I think, you know, obviously I'm in the know-how a wee bit. Because I see the boys all the time, kind of thing, in the training and things like that. And it's not, it's been spoken about quite a lot that, you know, obviously we've had a few injuries this season, and we're not using that as an excuse, definitely no. However, it's quite telling when you get players like Jamie Conn back into the team, and you've got Tam Orr up front, and you've got Stephen McCluskey back in the team, that, you know, it's no surprise that we're starting taking turn the screw a wee bit up there. But as I say, that's not an excuse for how the season's went so far, because as I say, we've totally underperformed, but it's very pleasing to see where we are just now. The boys are grinding at results and doing well. So I am delighted. But let's speak again at the end of the game and see if it's still the same, mate.
What kind of push are you expecting from Johnson Borough? We know that Clydebank, everybody knows that Clydebank's going to win the league this season. But if Johnson Borough aren't able to pick up a point today, then Clydebank will win it today, as they're a goal up against Benburg. What kind of fight are you expecting from Johnson Borough in the second half?
Oh, of course, they'll come out flying. I kind of walked past the dressing room there, and I heard Murdy with a few loud words, let's say. So they're going to come out. They're going to come out and try and, you know, make the first 10-15 minutes of the second half their game. And obviously on the back of that, that's very important for us to, maybe not well the storm, but that's maybe not the right kind of term, but because we've got quality as well. So as I say, in the first half, obviously Johnson Burris had a lot of possession, but they'll be looking to then go and create a wee bit more through that. But as I say, they're a top side, and I've got good players on the bench as well that can come on and totally change the game. So hopefully for us, let's see how it pans out, and hope that boys can stand up and be counted for and go and add another goal to this league and use a wee cushion.
Look, Jordan, thank you very much for the update, mate. Cheers, mate. I'll catch up at your end of the game.
PJ, thanks for that.
We're going to go straight to Gary Soap at Knightswood, where where they are 2-0 up against Rossville.
Hello.
Hi, Gary. 2-0 up against Rossville. We were actually just talking in the studio about it. You win today, you're promoted. How have the guys been playing?
The promotion thing sounds great, first of all, mate, because that's the number one target. I know we've been sitting top most of the season, but the promotion that's a new club, second year in the West of Scotland. It's what our aim is, first and foremost. Obviously, we want to go and win it, but promotion's massive for a club with the community side. It is massive. But the game itself, Paul, it was a right ding dong. The first 10 minutes was honestly, it could have been two each. The both keepers have had saves to make, and we really should have scored in the first 10-20 minutes, but they had good chances as well. So no, it's been a real entertaining game for anybody neutrals. Getting the 2 goals is probably, in my opinion, is probably worth it, because we're starting to really kind of press them, and more of the action's been in the Rossville half. But no, it's been a good game. Rossville are a really decent side, and this game's no finished at 2-0. There's a long way to go to still try and get the win.
As somebody who has been heavily involved with Knightswood for many years, and we're not counting our chickens, but what would it mean to you guys as a club, maybe just as a club in a whole or financially, just to get yourselves promoted out of this league and to do it in only 2 seasons at the level?
It's huge. It's huge. And do you know what? It would be credit to everybody in the background, because this club in the last kind of 14 years since we took it over, we transformed it to a kind of team, to a club with all the youth. And it's like nothing. We've got, again, 17-year-old in the middle of the park today, which just floats my boat, given the fact that he's been in and about the club, went to the pro youth scene, and then came back because he knows this is like his home. And that's what we're trying to build, mate. We're trying to build a home for kids to keep them in football. The West of Scotland's let us keep guys at 16, 17 and 18 the last 2 years, which is absolutely brilliant. And for me and Angela, that's just what we love. We're community people. We don't just help Knightswood Football Club when we do fundraisers. We always put a wee bit into the other clubs and stuff that are around about the area, So it would be massive to get promotion, massive.
Look, Gary, thanks very much for the update, and we'll maybe catch up with Michael at the end of the game as a promoted manager. But look, mate, all the best for the second half.
Thanks a lot for the phone call. All the best, guys. Bye bye.
We're going to go straight to Aaron at Maryhill. They are 2-1 up against Muirkirk at this stage, away from home. He says he's trying to find a wee bit of shelter from the wind, so it must be quite a breezy one up there.
Hi, BJ.
Aaron, hello, mate. So you've managed to find a bit of shelter from the wind. You guys are 2-1 up against Muirkirk, who are obviously been in excellent form and pushing to try and see if they can win themselves a trophy. But it seems to be that when you guys go and meet the teams who are looking to win the title, you seem to turn up.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, or whether the boys have been kind of given a bit of space to play in general, and they can kind of find their way through things. Not really the case here today. Scoring, imagine. It's a nice dry day, so there's a bit of a bounce on the pitch. So we've seen a lot of contested balls in the air. Muirkirk probably look more dangerous from set pieces, really. But they had one chance right on the stroke at half time where I think it was a winger flicked the ball over his full back and rattled the volley off the post. So could very well be looking at 2 each going in. But yeah, very tight game, to be fair. Really competitive all over the park. Just that bit of wind sort of making it a bit difficult for either side to sort of take control of the game. So it's all up in the air, no pun intended. Yeah, really well taken goals from Maryhill. Probably I'd say Maryhill maybe have had the better quality chances, if you like. But Muir put on that bit of pressure since they went behind from set pieces mainly.
What do you think it is that suits Maryhill so well playing the better sides, and the fact that the upturn in form since the new year has been quite drastic? Now Maryhill sitting in 7th place in the league, potentially going into 6th place. That's not something we would have thought maybe 2-3 months ago.
No, definitely not. I mean, going into Christmas, we won two league games in the first half of the season, if you like. Mark's touched on it previously that since the break, guys are more readily available, so he's going to have a bigger bench on the day, probably an unchanged team, and maybe things are just going to click into place. But you might remember before Christmas, we were always saying we're always losing by a goal. Not quite getting right, something was off, but not one thing in particular, if you like. So maybe just boys are kind of come together, and maybe that continuity inside is really helping make the difference.
Look, Aaron, I'm going to let you go because I can hear the wind on the phone, but thanks for the update, mate, and all the best for the second half.
Cheers, baby. Take care.
Well, there we go then. Maryhill line. So we obviously with a question on the live from Cameron Hutton asking, can Knightswood be promoted today? And the answer is yes, and it's looking likely as it stands. Now, I would never write off Josh's team because I know they're like, if they score in the first 5-10 minutes of the second half starting, they've got enough quality about them that the way they play, they can go and score more goals. But how big an impact, Johnny, you've been down at that level and you've seen it the opposite way with Luger going down and then back up. How big an impact does that have financially on the club, or does it have any difference at that level?
I think as coaching staff, and I know I was secretary in name, but I didn't really see any of the kind of financials. But what it did have a massive impact in is the gates, you know, because when you're winning games, people are going to start coming, you know, and it doesn't matter. Like we did okay when, I mean, the season we get relegated, we finished 6th bottom, you know, and it was that season with the 3rd division. Yeah. 6 of them went down, so we were really unfortunate. We were like something like 23 points above 3rd bottom and ended up getting relegated. But to go in the season, and we were a bit not similar to Maryhill, but we kind of stumbled through the first half of the season, but then second half of the season really found a real good run of form, and then went, I think it was 18 or something like that, unbeaten. And you could see the crowds getting bigger and bigger, more hospitality bookings, more people coming in, people bringing their families, friends, you know, all that kind of thing. So it makes a massive difference to a club because you're winning, and the hope is that these people hang about. And thankfully, I can speak for Luger's point of view, they have stayed, you know, so the gates are still up, and the sponsorships are up, and the hospitality's up again still, which is great for the club, and hopefully it's the same for Knightswood.
Yeah, look, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back the second half, so we're starting, and our Lowland League fixtures will be kicking off as well. So we'll be right back after these.
With years of experience in the industry,
Anything particular you want to talk about? I feel like the league reconstruction stuff's been fucking done to death. It is now on. So if
on
you're
an
watching
absolute
on
night.
the YouTube, you are unlucky to miss Johnny looking like he'd never tried to put headphones on before in his life.
It's only 2 years going on. 2 years.
It's aye. So
It's like Balotelli with a bib that time.
have you seen the one, the women's football, where she goes to drink the water bottle upside down and her pass to flip it? Got another question in from Paul Smith. He says, would you prefer to win a league and cup double or have an invincible season? So Paul's of an invincible league season. Paul's obviously a Clydebank fan and asking the question there. Des, would you rather, as a fan, well, I think there's a couple of ways to look at this. As a fan, a player, and a manager, what would you rather? A league and cup double or an invincible league season?
I think you would take, in my personal opinion, I think you would take the league and cup double because it's winners. They can talk about being an invincible season. We talk about Arsenal being an invincible team. Absolutely tremendous achievement. But when players retire, when you're old like us, you would rather see the medals on the trophy, the medals on the mantelpiece, wouldn't you? Well, in my opinion, I would.
And surely if you go invincible, you have an invincible season, you're going to win the league and cup anyway.
I will.
You know, but I would rather have the cup. I would rather have the cup every day because, as Des says, you're absolutely right. When you stop playing, all you have is your memories, and medals have got so much memories contained within them, and it's not just the winning of it; it's the team that you're with, it's the boys that you're with, it's the coaching staff, it's the fans, it's everything. You never forget winning something in football, regardless of whether it's at boys' club or in at the top level of football. You never, and it's so hard to win. I know it's hard to go invincible, of course it is, right? But it's so hard to win trophies at any level that you've got to treasure them.
I think that would definitely stick with you more as I think in terms of, we use Clydebank, you're right, in terms of this season, they get massive bragging rights to say, well, we could, if they go invincible, so we're invincible this season, nobody was able to beat us in the league. But I know that, see, if you were to turn around to him off and say, would you give up a couple of defeats in the league to have won the South Challenge Cup or the West Cup or the Junior Cup? Would you give that up to have that extra trophy? Fairly certain they'd say he would give that up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But actually, I forgot to go to Stevie Dugan at Clydebank in Benburb at half time, so I'll see if I can get a hold of him because it'd be nice to have a wee update on how it's going. Apologies if you're watching on YouTube and it's breaking up. I think there's just a wee issue with the Wi-Fi at the moment.
From the elation of the whistle going and you'd realised that you've won it, then to lifting the trophy, then celebrating your fans, then having your time in the dressing room, then having your nights out, reunions, exactly.
You know, and the fact you can show your kids, grandkids, their grandkids, the medals and stuff like that. You know, I remember looking at one of my great granddad's medals and like from 1912 and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And they're just full of memories and full of kind of great things and great times. You can't replace that. And it's nice to have something to actually show for it. And it makes me really sad seeing you see senior players or ex-professionals that are falling in hard times and they're selling their medals.
I know.
It really makes me sad because there's so much contained within them. And yes, you can say you've always got the memories in your head, but it's nice to have an actual thing that you can see and you can touch and you can feel.
No, I agree.
Coastside Athletic have scored, by the way. They've went ahead. So
good. Well, I'm going to apologise to anybody watching on YouTube. I left my charger in work yesterday. I'm using my wife's and it does not charge particularly well. And my battery's low on the laptop, so I'm trying to see if I can get this to work. So my apologies for that.
That could be a fairy tale end to the season for Bailey. Can imagine going out the door, leaving him with a promotion as well. He's done an incredible job there anyway, but to be walking out the door and leaving him with a promotion is just absolutely outstanding, isn't it?
I know. It would be no, it is because I've got the USB-C cable and that's the old cable. I don't need that fella. So it's definitely one of those ones where, see if this one works. And that's the wrong cable. We've got all these different cables kind of it. I think it would be great for them though, see if they could get promoted. But we touched on it last week. What does that mean for Bailey and the team if he leaves? What does that mean for Kilsyth? Do a lot of the players who have been there since he started with the club, do they go as well?
Well, I mean, what's his coaching staff set up? Is there a possibility that they could try and do similar to what Thorn did and try and maintain that continuity? I don't really know, I'm afraid. Kilsyth Athletics coaching staff, do you know, PG?
No, I don't know at all.
So Bailey's doing obviously his own coaching career out with football, and that's what he's focusing on. Because you've got if the guys that are there who have been working with him can continue working in the same fashion, working with the same methods and working with the same sort of ethics and morals, we would like to think that would be a possibility. It just depends on what their guys' commitments are. Have they maybe been there for a number of years as well that they want to change? The players looking to change? So it really is a lot of imponderables at the moment, isn't it?
And you get, you know yourself, Did you get in PG, you get two different types of assistants usually at this level. You get the guys that are quite happy to be assistants and don't want to become managers and things like that, and then you get the assistants that think they maybe want to be shot at it.
Yeah.
And you just don't know whether that's the case, because usually when coaching staff changes are made, it's usually because the team's having a nightmare and you get everybody out.
Yeah.
But this is an unusual situation where the manager's chosen to walk away himself, and maybe his coaching staff think maybe we could carry this on. We could make a fist of it. So
you would think so that that it would be. It's hard to say because you're completely right that any team and management team, you do always have guys who want to go and be managers themselves, so they might want to step up, which is probably good for the club. But whether or not they're willing to is a different matter. But we'll move on to league reconstruction. Something we've touched on pretty much every week. Again, we're no any further forward than we were last week. We had pretty much a lot of the same information, where we've had the Lowland League had the meeting on Monday, and then with the meeting after that with the working group on Tuesday. It's looking like an absolute done deal, but what's the views on it? Because in terms of the West of Scotland, what do we think the views are for the lower leagues? Because you're losing 7 teams.
That's the interesting thing for me is where if they want to make
three teams that are getting relegated, that is your
on. You can get us on. I'm delighted to say we're back on YouTube, gents. You are back, so that's good news. Updates for the Lugger game, Johnny.
3-all now. 3-1 at half time. And back to 3-all. So, and I see Neielson have just taken the lead against Wlets.
Oh, that's a big one for them. Fanat 5-2 down at Thrieve now. It's another interesting game. You look at Des, you touched on it there when just as we went off air. In terms of finances, see you're spending, what is it to go to Lugger? £6-7?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're £6 to go to see Lugger, so you have £12 for 19 goals.
Value for money.
It doesn't get any better than
every week on the pod. Well, last week 145 goals in 33 games.
It's insane.
Averaging 4.4 a game. You know, look at Cali Locos. Cali Locos are my favourite team. I see they're getting beat 1-0 off Craig Matt, right?
Yep.
But 41 goals in the last six games. 20 goals for and 21 against. Won 3, lost 3 out of that last 6. I mean, if you're in Springburn, I'm sure you don't
need to get the
No.
You're desperate to get out the house anyway, so get up to Peters Hill Park and watch the Locos.
Well, on Peters Hill, they are now 3-1 up against Kilbirnie after being 1-0 down. So Kilbirnie, they're in a position, they're in real trouble. And for the rest of the show, below the Premier League, I'm going to talk as if relegation and promotion is going to be the same as always. Mabel now 2-1 up against Cowan. Cowan, are they starting to bottle it? Are they starting to struggle for winning the league? They still got a great chance of getting promoted. Yoker, Dom O'Donnell, first game, we're talking about how great a start they have. They went 1-0 up, went 1 each, and then went 2-1 up, 2 each, now 3-2 Canvas Lang, which puts a bit of pressure on the Ants. Callum Bryan with a goal for Neielson against Wlets, which is a really, really big goal there as well.
When I watched Canvas Lang a few weeks ago against Wlets, I thought they looked dangerous going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they did. I thought they looked really dangerous. The central striker, I didn't catch his name. I just remember he had a bandana on, which was class. But he looked a real handful. He was a real handful. He looked as if he'd be a tough play against, and he looked quite erratic, but he was trying to score every time he got the ball, which I quite liked.
The thing is, they've got quality, Canvas Lang, and I've touched on it for when I saw them play. It was they didn't look the fittest of teams, which can obviously have a big impact on you. Eglinton in the 70th minute, a Liam Davis free kick brings them level against Campbelltown. Gart Cairn are now 2-1 up against Larg, so that's a really big result for Ryan McStay and Darren Barr there in the Premier League, which would put them out of the relegation zone and drop Benburb squarely into it. So it's quite Benburb worrying times for them.
That's the one we've picked. The past couple of weeks,
yeah,
the Bens have been on that wee sort of downward trajectory.
Connor Hamilton puts Maryhill 3-1 up against Muirkirk. It's looking like a great day in the second division for Neielson. If it stays as is, Neielson will go into top spot with 57 points, Wlets on 56, and Muirkirk on 48. So the games in hand are starting to mean a lot less now. They will be 9 points behind. Muirkirk will be 9 points behind Neielson with 3 games in hand, and there's no guarantee you're going to pick up any points in those games. So it's quite interesting. Giffnock now 6-0 up against BSC. It's depressing times for BSC, and I hope next season they can come back and at least be competitive, because that's something they've not been this season. Port Glasgow 4-0 up against Carluke, so it's looking like Port Glasgow and Knightswood, obviously, we've known they're going to be the top 2 for quite some time.
Kello
are 2-0 up against Easterhouse, so they're keeping the fight alive.
So Kello are again 9 unbeaten, and I think this week against Easterhouse, playing Easterhouse this week, I think that puts them in a really, really strong position to get that.
I think they're there. I think this is the top 3 we're going to be looking at.
It's now Renfruit, 2 each.
That's the difference of a player of that quality at that level.
Where did they sign him from?
Johnson Borough.
Right. Okay.
2-1 to Bellshill against the Ants, so the bottom end of the second division. I think the Ants are gone this season. I think that it's going to be too much for them. Ryan Cinnamon with a blistering free kick makes it 3-1 to Greenup. That is a huge one in that division. So 3-1, that's huge for them. Then Cumnock, 9 minutes left, still holding on. Dylan Dykes replaces Stephen McCluskey, as Jordan had touched on, having guys like McCluskey back.
Yeah.
That's maybe...
It's a huge chunk of the season.
Aye.
He's such an influential
And it's maybe why, a part of the reason why they're starting to turn around. We touched on the fact they don't score a lot of goals, and I still maintain they don't score a lot of goals, but they're not losing a lot of goals either. And that's them. They've conceded 30 goals in 24 games as it stands, and that's not the worst at all.
No, and I think given their recent reform winning last week about Darville as well, getting players back at the right time of year, Swifty was obviously under a bit of pressure. This could just be the pickup that he needs to go again.
Well, it puts them into 10th place, with Beath winning, and Pollock winning. Pollock leapfrog Largs into 7th place, and to be honest with how St Cadoc's are playing, I think Pollock could catch St Cadoc's as well. And
St Cadoc's have fell off.
They've really, obviously there's been a lot going on in the background there and stuff, but I think it shows that now you're looking at with Maxey and his Pollock team. If they win, they've got 6 games left after today. If they win 3 of those 6, I think you're turning around and saying it's been a pretty good season for them.
And I think
good season so far already.
Trinent are 2-0 up against Cumbernauld Colts now. Sorry, Johnny, on you go.
I think Pollock play at home to Benburn next week as well. So
You've got to fancy them there, don't you? But Benburn seem to get results against Pollock. They always seem to get results against Pollock. Les Mehigo were 3-0 up against Bonnin. It's now 3-2. Bonnin have pulled 2 back.
And Benburn going to Pollock next week. Both stomping grounds are both Wintle brothers.
Oh, that's very true. It's very true indeed. 5-0 to Clydebank. It's Mulcahy with a goal there. It's
procession.
It's been a tremendous result. We'll get them off on. Hopefully, if they win the league, hopefully we get them, because I think it'd be quite an in-demand man.
I think as well, obviously yourself and I are hosting a supporters event.
Yes, Des. Why don't you talk to our listeners about that?
Well, at the end of May, we're having an evening with the managers. It'll be Clydebank with what looks champions elect Gordon Moffat, Drumchapel manager Adam Hope, and our friend Stuart Maxwell from Pollock. Paul and I will be hosting an event at the Erskine Arts Centre. Come along, bring your own bottle.
I know.
It's only £10 a head, and you can hear from these guys. And I think if Moff being the champion manager elect, I would imagine that the Clydebank fans would be.
I think for Clydebank fans, it would be a great opportunity to come and hear your manager on the first manager, get them potentially back into that level of football. It's what they've all been dying for, getting to hear him. It's only across the bridge for you if you're a Clydebank fan. You can go into the Bracken pub beforehand, have a couple of beers in there, get yourself down to the sports centre and bring your own bottle and have a right good night and listen to some great chat. So are you going to be able to, for the managers maybe, are you going to be able to make it that night, Johnny?
Aye.
Excellent. So we're going to have a wee team night out as well. I mean, if you would be interested in speaking to any of us guys, if you watch your shows, then we're more than happy to have a chat with you at the show as well. So I don't know how it gets any better, and only for £10. But back to the football. Johnson, sorry, I thought I was going to get excited there. Irvine Meadow are now 2-2. So 2 goals been put back after 2-0 up. It is now 2-0.
And then Irvine Meadow now coming back. It's amazing how quickly.
We're sitting.
Why we love it, guys. It's why we love it.
We were talking earlier in the show about how comfortable it was looking for Irvine Meadow, potentially moving themselves into 10th spot, and now Vale Clyde winning as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not been a great day for them. Mabel winning, they dropped back down into 13th spot, only 2 points clear of Rob Roy.
The Vale Clyde manager John Hughes is on the WSFL Weekly with me tomorrow.
Is that so?
Yep.
Excellent.
So
I'd actually look forward to listening to him, because John's quite a good guy, got a good speaker, and I think that see if he can keep them in that division. I think the work he's done at Vale Clyde over the last few years has been absolutely tremendous. The back-to-back promotions from the 3rd to 2nd, and now being able to stay in that really, really tight league. Easterhouse have pulled one back. Robbie MacArthur, 78 minutes against Kello, so it's now 2-1 to Kello against Easterhouse. And St Peter's, Thomas Ruff makes it 3-1 for St Peter's against Royal Albert. It's
it was Colin Lafferty with a goal for Cumbernauld there against Irvine Meadow. 1-1 for Civil Service Strollers there. They've got a goal back, so it was 1-1 there. East Stirling are 1-0 up against Broomhill, just as we're talking about Easterhouse pulling it back, maybe looking like they're going to do something. They are now 3-1 down. A minute later, they are 3-1 down there against
Always
Kellow.
say you're most vulnerable when you've just scored a goal, don't they?
Yeah.
In the 4th division, we know that I think that Knightswood may have enough just to pip it, but it's only one game and it could swing for the Port, who've got a superior goal difference. Do we think if Kellow win this, that's them got 3rd spot wrapped up? Or not wrapped up, but they're in a real strong position.
Well, in pole position, because they're going to be 1, 2, 3, they're going to be 4 points ahead of Easterhouse with 2 games in hand. You know, so, and the way they're playing just now, as I said, 9 unbeaten. And when they've had a few draws, I think they had 3-4 draws in a row. But they're not losing games, and it's a really tough place to go down to Kirkconnell. And I would love to see Kellow go up. Great people down there. The manager's a really good guy as well. So
who is the manager?
Greg Gallagher.
Greg Gallagher. Yeah.
So Greg's a really good guy. Really difficult place. Like we spoke about the Gala catchment area is no great. Try to get boys to come down. So I would be really delighted to see them get promoted.
Another case of getting relegated is not always the worst thing.
Also mentioned for the following year, doesn't it? And
I think they won 1 game last season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
1 or 2. It was.
Kellow?
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
I thought Kellow
like
had the great start. Did the great start and then fell apart?
No, that was the season they were in the 4th.
Right.
That was the season they were in the 4th and they get promoted.
And it's always a good
And then last
setup. It's a good setup down there. That's, as you say, because of where it is, it's difficult to attract. Because I mean, did they train in the air? Do you know where they train?
No, so Kellow did have the great start last year. They won 5 games, and I think that they won 3 or something in the first 3 or 4 games, because they ended up with 5 wins, 6 draws, and 19 defeats. So it was the second half of the season they absolutely capitulated.
I think they train in Kilmarnock or Auchinleck, somewhere like that. Right. Run about that kind of area.
It's such a travel for the guys going there.
So obviously I've done the travel to Craigmark, so I know what it's like in terms of that, trying to attract players. We trained in Kelly, but we had the travel to. It was just such a long journey, to be honest, from anywhere. You've got more experience in inertia than me. How difficult do you find it trying to attract players? I mean, even look at Lugar. You've got the issue of you've got the 3 clubs down there who are the big clubs, but Lugar's also a tiny wee place. How do you find trying to attract players to certain places in inertia?
You need to move training to somewhere that's accessible, that's easily accessible. So the first season we were there, we trained at Cumnock at the Barony school, and it wasn't ideal. And then we managed to get a tie-in with St Joseph's in Kilmarnock and move training there. So, and that made a big difference to us being able to train in Kilmarnock. But even look at, I know Cumnock are different because they've got their own part, but Auchinleck train in Irvine, you know, Glenafton train at Kilmarnock.
Well, I've heard that Cumnock had to move one of their nights up to Paisley,
right?
Because I mean, they're paying good money to players to travel, and they've had to move a train. I don't quote me, but I'd heard that they had moved to the Paisley area, Renfruit 3-2 down, 3-2 down.
3-2, yeah.
So you need to move the training to try and encourage, especially if you're at a team like Lugar that doesn't pay much, if any money. You have to be accessible to these boys, and then it's only once every second Saturday. But you're looking at a team like Girvan. You know, Girvan's 25 miles for air. You know, so if you're travelling, and it's not an easy 25 miles, and they've got the facility down there. Even Maybole train at Carrick Academy, which is in Maybole, but it's still, you get to the Queen Margaret roundabout or the hospital roundabout here, you've still got another 15-20 minutes for there. You know, so if you're coming from Kilmarnock, you're 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back.
I know, and it's a lot. Hearts B have taken the lead against Cowdenbeath. Cowdenbeath have put up their attendance for today, and I don't imagine there'll be many Hearts fans at the game. 241. Just to touch on, again, league reconstruction, you have Cowdenbeath, they fall into the east?
Yeah.
Right, but you've got like Albion Rovers who still get reasonable attendances. Do you think, because I know some of the the lower league clubs had certain issues. Cali Braves being one who'd released a statement about not overly being on board with it. And
Cali Braves issue. What was I can't remember the statement off the top of
See
my
if I
head.
can
I
get
did
this.
read it, but I can't. Do you remember what
they were talking about sporting meritocracy and stuff like that. And then, but see, for me, see teams like Cali Braves and Cumbernauld Colts and Broomhill, I think that they're one of the things Cali Braves, I'm sure they spoke about, was travelling doesn't make much of a difference to them for travelling. But you're not telling me that them getting Clydebank and Pollock and the Talbot coming to their place is better than having Hearts B and Gala Ferrydean. There's no way that they're not making more money when you have, particularly if, for talking sake, they got Clydebank at home in the opening day of the season. You're not telling me that Clydebank aren't taking 400 or 500 people to that game. And what does that fit? I know.
I think Cali Braves just think it's going to make it more difficult for them to get it. Because better teams are coming in.
That's probably what it is. That's probably.
It's just self-preservation, in my opinion. You know,
they're in the Lowland League to try and get promoted to SPFL. Are you telling me that if they're into that league and they're playing Elgin, how many are Elgin going to bring in? What sort of money? And if we're talking about travelling, it's more centralised with the way the structure is. So it's purely self-preservation because Clydebank get promoted, they're the champions. They're going to be able to attract better calibre of players. They're going to attract more sponsors, more money, which therefore it's Turkey's vote for Christmas. Cali Braves are looking after themselves there.
Well, what do you think?
I do understand that you're going from effectively 2 into 1 to 3 into 1. So I do get that thinking. And I do think there needs to be, and I'm sure we've not got time to get into a wider reconstruction discussion about the SPFL, you know, because in my opinion it should be at least two down from the third division or the League 2 into wherever they would go, and then 2 up, you know, just automatically. I cannot stand playoffs for teams that finish at the bottom.
I know.
They should be out.
You know,
I mean,
not even second bottom. See if you finish second bottom through a 38-game season.
I know.
There's no way you should be able to get yourself in the league.
We've spoken about it, and at least always second bottom, you're saying it's not bottom. Right? And I agree with you. I think that bottom 2 should go.
Look at England. I think England have got it right, where they're 3 down out of League 2 and 3 up for the conference.
I mean, I appreciate they've obviously got bigger leagues, but I also think, and do you know what? I know it's not quite this level, but it's relevant.
Irvin Vicks have scored in the 93rd minute to beat Lugar 4-3, and Wlets have scored to make it 1 each.
20 goals in 2 games at Lugar. It's impressive.
Full time.
It's impressive. We'll have full-time results come in. Are Clydebank going to be champions?
6-3 Pollock from Chapel.
Wow.
It's a good one.
6-3?
Do you know what? I know Paul does the wrong stuff, but I'm delighted for Maxine and Chris and Dad.
I think that it's really impressive that they've been able to get that result. And funny, I spoke about it because I'm kind of pally with Lee Duncan and stuff at the fullback for Pollock, and he mentioned to me, he says that they were defending quite well. They won, they scored a lot of goals, and they've been scoring goals recently. And he actually said to me last week when I seen him, he says that's the difference. He says we score goals and we will win games because we're good enough defensively. I appreciate they've lost 3 today, but they're still good enough defensively that if they score goals, they'll win games. And I think that's probably the inconsistency with Pollock, that they having a mix of young players and inexperienced players. But now I'll use him because I know him. I know his dad. I use Declan Black as an example, who's come for Greenup this season. But Declan Black now is a season further down the road. He's a season more experienced at the top level at this kind of setup. And there'll be others similar. Does that mean next season Pollock might be better? And then we'll talk about as well, it was touched on there, what does it mean for sponsorship and stuff like that? Do they start bringing in more money because they've moved up a level? Do the lower league get money off of the SFA? Does that, because I know they're doing it League 2. Do you start getting kind of money trickling down? So it's interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot still to be ironed out in the public, and this won't come. You're talking about Pollock bringing in players and just money. Maxie's done that for years at Rob Roy. This is the first club that he's went to expecting a budget of some significance, and then he said it cut and cut and cut. But look what he's doing with his team now. He's picking up results each week. He's getting results, I think Stephen Docherty has been massively underrated. I know he went out on loan to Gartcairn, and he wasn't even getting his game at Gartcairn particularly.
He's not a.
He's not an out and out number 9. He's raw.
To me, it's Doc is very much raw is the best word, and we're talking about Hugh McIver being a bit raw as well. But he's probably at a higher league level of Hugh McIver. Where
Penalty for Renfruit.
Kilsyth 5-1 up now. Kilsyth Athletic 5-1 up. So it's been a good day for them. Cumbernauld Colts. Zach Mackay pulls a goal back against Trinent. So it's 2-1 to Trinent. Cali Braves are 2-0 up against Bo'ness. Jojo Mackay makes it 4-1 for Petershill against Kilbirnie. It was Ralston with a goal against Renfrew, but keep us updated with how that's going there.
I'm just waiting for
penalty in the 90th minute at Cumnock. Which way? Dylan Dykes misses the penalty in the 90th minute. That's quite interesting there. So we're almost 3-1 to Bells Hill.
Dylan Dykes Murdy had Dylan Dykes at fault with him, didn't he?
He did actually. As I said, it's still 1-1 with Neielson and Wlets. Nearly finished. We've just done an update.
3 each.
For Jojo Gillespie. Glenvale 2-1 against Glasgow Pershing. That's a big win for Lewis McKimmony's team there.
Hurford finished 2-1.
2-1. Great win for Hendo, I believe.
Yeah.
We had that today, didn't we?
Yeah.
I tell you what, draw for Renfrew, that could be interesting.
Draw for what?
And full time, we have a massive update, and Clydebank are champions of the Premier League. Well done to Clydebank, champions of the Premier League. Tremendous result. 25 games into the season, and they are undefeated so far. It's I think that an unbelievable amount of credit goes to Clydebank. Champions League, despite however it goes with how it finishes with promotion relegation.
Full time at Knightswood 2-1.
2-1. Knightswood promoted as well. Massive one for them.
Full time at Renfruit
3-3. Good. Pulled one back against you. But congratulations, Clydebank are Premier League champions. Start of the season, I've tipped them the last 3 years, and I finally feel vindicated. Finally, just throw darts at a board and it'll stick eventually. But massive for them. League champions, Clydebank are the Premier League champions.
Delighted for the chairman as well. The committee at Clydebank. They've rejuvenated home park. They've rejuvenated the whole club. So yeah, very success to them.
Aye, massive.
Absolutely. The support base that they get is just. You're green with envy when you see the quality of the social media, the fans they get. They're just everything around it is just so professional. They've been the best team in the league. We looked at the start of the season. They've went and identified 2 or 3 or 4 players that are going to tip them over the edge, and it's worked to absolute perfection. All those players have contributed massively to the winning of the league, and absolutely fully deserved. Congratulations.
Massive for them. And I'm now putting up on YouTube that is Knightswood promoted to the 3rd division. They were a team who last season were very much hit and miss. I thought it had a decent first season, finishing mid-table. Then the management team stepped back, and in comes Michael Pender, and tremendous season, absolutely tremendous season. Congratulations to Knightswood on their promotion, but will they go up as the champions?
I would like to see them do it. I know it's no problem.
Why are you saying that?
Because I'm pals with the chairman. I'm pals with a couple of the players. But no, I would like to see it because you've came this far. They've done the hard bit first. They've got promotion. That's taken me. So now you'd like to think that maybe a wee bit more relaxed and they can go and enjoy themselves. And that tends to bring a lot more better quality football as well.
I don't have a dog in the race, so I'm not really.
You don't really makes no difference.
No, it does. It doesn't really. Because I like both of them. I like the way Knightswood have went about it this year, and I like the sounds of things. Although I've not seen them, but I like the sound of how they play. I like the as I said, Michael's been great whenever he's came on the show and spoke to us and stuff like that. But yet, Port Glasgow, I think they've got a really good management team. They've got lots of experienced players there as well. So
Tam's a lovely guy. That's good.
So I'm not really. it's just been an exciting. It's going to be an exciting run in, basically, and I'll be interested to see who manages to grab it, because I think there'll be a couple of twists and turns along the way.
And I think both teams will be competitive, because I think Port will go up as well. Don't think that's.
No, I don't think that's in doubt.
And I think both of them will be competitive next year.
I think it was a shock. I think Port Glasgow's season last season was a shocker.
Considering the quality, do you know, I was quite vocal on it. I think that Tam's a great guy, really, and I'm so pleased for him, and I'm so pleased for Alex, his assistant, and all these coaches. I'm really delighted for the club. And I was quite critical of how they did last year, and it wasn't good enough for me. I don't think that they were anywhere near the level of what their squad was. But stuck with a manager, giving him time, and he's put out a very good side for me. I think that the Port are a team who will more than hold their own in the third division next season as well.
Yeah, I think so. You need to. Sometimes you need to stick with a man. I've said it. I said it to him blue in the face. Continuity is really, really important in football. Obviously, everything gets to a stage where you need to cut the cord. But in my opinion, you have to give the manager time to get his own players in, to get his own views across. Yes, they didn't have a great season last season, but you've got to be judged on what you do with full pre-season under your belt, new players in, and then you can take it from there. You know, obviously coming down a level as well, he's managed to bring some really, really good players that have played at far higher level than the fourth division. So
he's also cut the wage budget quite drastically as well. So I think that
a great setup. I really like it.
I love it there. I love it. And I think I scored a Port fan could correct me, but I was told one time that I scored the first ever goal at Arthle against Rossville.
Really?
I think I did. And that would have been
1970.
In your dream.
It would have been 2011, I think. That's how long ago.
Wow.
I think it was 2011, 2012. But that's massive. They'll get promoted next week, I think.
Who do they play next? Do we know who they
We'll
play?
have a wee look and see who they play next week. And the thing is, that league title's not finished yet. It's very interesting in that league.
Who are they playing this week?
This week they are playing Carluke, so I think they're 4-1 up or 4-0 up.
Campbelltown next week, am I right?
So next week they have Campbelltown away.
Yeah.
So that could be some trip.
That'd be a good wee trip back to the road.
Imagine that.
Can you remember the name of the pitch?
Oh, you did this last week, didn't you? But I don't know. I actually don't remember.
I think you're Paul McCartney song.
Mulla Kintyre.
Kintyre Park. Right, we're going to go to Jordan Orr at Cumnock after their great win. Hopefully we'll catch up with some Moth soon enough to see the champions of the Premier League. Jordan, congratulations. 1-0 win against Johnson Borough. How was the reaction down at the game?
The boys stood up in the second half. Johnson Borough, obviously, as the game, the second half went on, we're obviously piling on a lot of pressure. We, at the end up, got a penalty of our own. We bit kind of on the break, I suppose. But Dylan Dykes unfortunately missed. It was a good save by the goalkeeper, and then literally the balls went up the other end of the park and it's brought back to Lafferty, and Curry's made an absolutely unbelievable save, which is just as good as scoring a goal, in my opinion, scoring a winner. Absolutely unbelievable. But again, it's testament to the boys they're going to put the bodies in the line as well during the game, and they're grinding out results in us. So as I say, it's long overdue, obviously, but it's a really nice feeling to enjoy a Saturday again for a change.
Well, we touched on it at half time. That is 3 wins in the last 3 games. The team are, if we base it off there's going to be a relegation, the team are safe from it, but it looks at it now. How was the reaction from the Johnson Borough players, staff and fans knowing that the league title was officially gone today?
To be honest, as you said at half time, it's pretty much guaranteed that was going to happen anyway. Obviously it was just a kind of waiting game if it was going to happen today or no. To be honest, there wasn't really much for them or the fans. Probably more just disappointment of their kind of performance, more so in the final third, I think, for large parts of the game. Because as I said at half time, they were totally dominant in the first half on the ball, moved the ball a bit well, but again, they just looked to be a bit lost up the top end of the park. And Murdy and Mitch and H is good enough coaches. They'll they obviously know that themselves, and they'll work on that. But as I say, the fans and obviously the guys at the side of the pitch, they weren't really, to be honest, it wasn't really a big kind of talking point, if you like, at our game, if that makes sense.
Definitely, mate. Look, we're going to let you go. Thanks for the update today, and congratulations on the win.
Mate, cheers.
Cheers, mate. Right, we are going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we're hopefully going to hear from newly promoted manager Michael Pender at Knightswood. So, hopefully we'll be right back after these. Of Saturday football live, we have Clydebank as champions of the Premier League. Knightswood, newly promoted into the third division, still got a chance of winning the fourth division if they can pip Port Glasgow to the title. Want to get in touch with us is 07396 717 412. That's 07396 717 412. We are now in the phone-in stage of the show. Somebody phone in, please. It would be lovely to hear from you. Anything you want to say, if you're a Clydebank fan who wants to talk about your amazing season, Premier League champions, unbelievable, still invincible with 5 games remaining, or if you're a Knightswood supporter or anybody involved with the club, get in touch with us if you want to talk about how amazing your team have been this season and got themselves promoted into the third division. So we're going to go to Knightswood manager Michael Pender and see what he's got to say on his promotion to the third division.
Fans want to come and speak to the championship manager.
Michael, congratulations, promoted into the third division today after a 2-1 win against Rossville. How are you feeling?
Delighted. Couldn't be happier for the boys. With a wee bump in the road there for a couple of weeks, but they've turned in a really polished performance today against Josh and the boys at Rossville. You know how good the team they are, how well Josh sets up as well. Absolutely delighted. We were 2-0 up at half time and probably could have done maybe another 1 or 2. But Rossville came right back at us, scored early in the second half and made us work to the very death for it. But delighted for the boys who've worked hard this season. They've been excellent, and I'm glad that's the kind of first objective achieved anyway.
Michael, Johnny Bailey here. Congratulations, delighted for you. Just a quick one. I know you've said the last few weeks that teams have been playing a bit deeper, trying to counter-attack you a bit more often. Was today more of an open affair? Good football on show, I would imagine.
Yeah, listen, we know we played Rossville up at the Turkey Stadium early in the season, by pitch, and we did a really good day that day. But I'd said that day as well, it was never a 4-0 game. They have a specific way of playing, and they stuck with that to the day. They probably did try to hit us in the counter, but they played it well. They've got a couple of really dangerous players. They've got Kev obviously out on the left-hand side today, who can turn on the sixpence. So it was more. It was for the first 20 minutes. It felt a wee bit like a basketball game. But listen, we knew that with Josh, and then once he got his head around it at half time, he made a couple of changes, and then it turned into everybody a tactical battle where we're trying to make changes to negate each other. But it was a good game today, a good open game, played in a good manner as well.
Michael, it stays with you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Des.
That surely now, that's the first hurdle. But the next hurdle is the next question. The next hurdle is getting the hands on the silverware, isn't it? That's now got to be the end goal.
Yeah, the 100%. It's 5 to go. At the start of the season, we set ourselves internally within the club. We set ourselves the objective of promotion, which we knew wouldn't be easy with some of the good teams in the league and some of the teams that have come down. Said it earlier on this season, and nothing changes now. We think we've done fantastically well. The Port have just couldn't shake them off no matter what, and they've been amazing too. So with 5 to go, yeah, listen, now it's time for us to really just empty the tank and go for it. So the kind of pressure's off. We're up, we've achieved what we wanted to do, but as a club, we've been leading the race for day one, and now we want to go on and try and finish the job.
We've spoken about it in the studio, Michael, about what implications does this have for the club, and what does it mean to all involved at the club that you're going to be stepping up into the third division and only your second season at the level?
It's great. When I came in the summer, Paul, obviously it was a bit of turbulent the first year, first season in, but I learned the curve for the whole club. We're playing up at NK. Obviously there's plans in place for us to be moving into our own stadium, pushing that forward. And the guys at the club, the board set as the target. They weren't really looking for much more than a top half finish. But myself and the boys had other ideas, so we want to push it on. And then listen, it's the same again, Paul. We're fortunate the boys we've got. We're all committed to next season already. They want to be here, they want to stay and be part of it. So for us, for us it's a case of look at what we've got, take stock, try and get through these 5, Paul, and then take stock in the summer and see what we need to push on again and see if we can make a dent in the third.
Look, Michael, I'll let you go and enjoy what's going to be, I imagine, for you and your players, a good night before you get yourself back on the training ground during the week. But congratulations, mate. Absolutely delighted for you and the club.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks, boys. Appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Take care. Well, massive result there. How's the Grand National going? Because I can see on the telly behind you, I can see the reflection of the racing going on right in front of you.
Well, just like Johnny was talking about earlier when we were talking about Port Knightswood, I don't have any horse in this race. I thought I'd help my mate to put on a bigger screen for him.
Well, my horse is just hit the front just now there, so it's probably a bit early for him to be at the front, but we'll see how it goes.
Too early in the season, isn't
Grange Clare West, here he comes in the blue hat there, Des. This is great radio.
So in the half-time results in the Lowland League, Albion Rovers 0, Berwick Rangers 0. Something I'll say about this league, there's not a lot of goals in it. Broomhill 0, East Stirling 1, Broxburn 0, Celtic B 0, Cali Braves 2, Bowness 0, Cowdenbeath 1, Hearts B 2, Cumbernauld Colts 0, Trinent 2, Gretna 1, Civil Service Strollers 1, University of Stirling 0, Gala Ferrydean 0. With a late goal for Glenvale, I touched on Noah Young being a really good prospect at that level. Somebody who I think that clubs have got to be looking at. Sean Daly scores again. Every week he's scoring. He's very similar to... There's a lot of boys in that 3rd, 4th division who are scoring a lot of goals that maybe clubs need to look at.
Yeah. I mean, we've spoken about Muirkirk. There's a lot of guys scoring goals. I mean, McIver, many goals he's scoring. This is where your teams traditionally, like your Auchinlecks, etc. This is where they go shopping.
Mm-hmm.
I think that these young guys certainly aren't doing themselves any disservice, and not that we're looking to broach players away from clubs. I think these guys will be setting themselves up for a lot of interest in the summer months, if not already.
Mm-hmm. I think that as well with the money situation in the league, if money's going to be a bit less, then you need to start looking at down the levels, and conversations I've had with managers and coaches in the Premier League is saying that there is diamonds down there. You just have to go and find them and take a chance on them and play them, which can be difficult, but you've got to have that courage to actually go and play them.
I think so as well. And see, we were talking about the finances at clubs and potentially being cut back. Now, I'm not saying that McIver or Daly are good enough to go and play for Gart Cairn or Bede, but it's like you said there, Johnny, teams have got to be brave enough to give them a chance. Mm-hmm. And maybe these teams have watched them and think that they're not quite at that level, but surely if you're scoring 20 plus goals in the 3rd division, 25 plus goals in the 3rd division, Somebody in the first division is going to have a look at you.
I remember refereeing Chris Doolan when he was at Dalby,
Mhm.
and then he got to jump to Talbot, and then also went straight to
Gave me
Thistle
the biggest doing I've ever had in a football park.
when he was at Dalby.
No, when he was at Talbot, it was about 3 weeks before he went to Partick Thistle. One of the only times in my playing career I ever wanted to just be taken off. It was horrendous. Battered the life at me.
Look at Kilburn as well. Davy Anderson, Chris Erskine, and these guys went from at the time it was the regional league at the time, and went on to make full-time careers.
I know. I mean, the fact that you look at Chris Erskine, who
He's now back at Glenarthen.
but Dundee
I also
United.
think as well, though, for young boys, there's a lot to be said for it. Just not being too keen to jump quite straight away, you know, and learning your craft. Because I think, like, if you're talking about McIver there, this is his first full season at this level, you know, like.
So what is he, Johnny?
Early 20s, you know, 21 maybe.
Quite encouraging. Is he pacey?
He's gangly.
Right.
So you don't have to be too keen as well. We spoke about, Kenny and I spoke Sunday about Jordan Boyd, that obviously made the step up to go and play with Meda, but then goes back to Wlets and is absolutely flying. There's a lot to be said for being in a good situation, that you're happy, you're enjoying your football, you're comfortable, you know, you can learn your trade, and then if it's there for you, it'll be there for you. You know, you're still going to be a good player if you're doing the right things. You know, and it's different maybe in the professional game where you get the chance to step up and you can look at life-changing money and situations and stuff, but maybe not that.
I know, maybe if you're not, £20 a week is probably not really worth it. We're going to go to Maryhill manager Mark Young after their 3-1 win against Muirkirk today. All right, mate, you are in the same wind tunnel that Aaron was in earlier when we called. 3-1 win against Muirkirk away from home. You must be absolutely delighted with that.
Oh, aye, of course, mate. Aye, and to be fair, it's the first in since my time here that we beat Muirkirk. So we were saying that we played them 6 times and lost 5. So aye, happy to get a free, mate, for a change. We in the studio the other day. Every time he's in the studio, I win.
Just you let me know whenever you need it, Mark. Just you let me know.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. Get him in every week, please, PG. I'd appreciate it.
It's me that has to deal with him every week, mate, though, so I don't know if I appreciate it. I asked Aaron at half-time, what is it that's been happening with you guys of late where you're going and playing the teams who are looking to try and win the title and you just go out and you get convincing wins, or at least on paper convincing wins?
Look, to be fair, mate, I'll be honest and say that at the start of the year I always thought that's where we were going to be. I know we can say pressure off and stuff like that, but it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about being in a relegation battle, and then now we've picked up a good bit of form and stuff like that. I've said it before, I think consistency of team selection and a wee bit of recruitment. We sorted the centre half problem collectively that cost us. I think at the start of the year we brought in one of my main ones for last year, came back about November time, and then we got wee Mario win for Ben's under 20s about the same time as well. So just giving us options and stability at the back means that we've not really cost the same kind of goals bar last week in that 5-4 draw.
You guys are completely safe from relegation. You're not going to get promoted this season. Are you already looking at what's coming next season?
Hi, look, to be fair, you're talking about that, but who knows with the carnage that the reshuffle's going to bring. There's crazy rumours and stuff like that talking about the amount of teams that can be dragged up because of the restructure. So, but we're not getting ahead of ourselves or anything like that at all. When I said that to the boys today, for me, it's a wee bit of personal pride that we're playing for the now, and it's a bit frustrating because you go off with what we've done there and been competitive and maybe turned a lot of the draws at the start of the year, maybe into once it could have been a different back end of the year. But we're just happy that the boys have shown what they've got. The majority have signed on for next year. So you're talking about that, building that momentum, getting into the good habits. And but we played them really well. You're talking like Wlets, obviously we were outstanding at home, and we were very good against them at home, in the same in Muirkirk. At home as well, when they just pipped us 2-1 and we lose 2 bad goals. The day the wind played a big factor in the first half. I think they penned us in a wee bit because it was quite direct, and I think they must have had about 4 or 5 corners in a row, and they finally scored 3-1. But what was great is the timing, mate. We go and nick one no far off just before half time as well. So you get back in at 2-1 and then have the window on our backs ways. So in the second half is a big difference. And to be fair, that the keeper's made a great save, tipped it onto the post, or maybe last minute of the second half, you go in at 2 each, it's maybe a wee bit different. And the second half, we just go out and see it out. I don't think there was much overly in it, no crazy quality or anything like that. I gave my second balls and a bit directness, but happy to get the points. And then, like we said, just finish as strong as you want. We talk about setting me standards and points totals and stuff like that. I know a lot of gaffers talk about that, and they don't worry about positions. That's kind of what we done at Christmas. Was just try to reset it and go give ourselves many objectives. Don't worry about going down, going up, anything like that at all. Just try and get improvements on last year. So as much as the bad start that we've had, we're actually only, I think, 7 points off what tally for last year. We've got 5 games left. So when you tally it up, you go, actually, it's not too bad. And we go, all right, we're a wee bit hard on ourselves, but it's just personal standards.
You've touched on the potential of quite a few teams going up, and if rumours are true that 7 teams going to the Lowland League, it's potentially meaning 7 promotion spots for the leagues below. You are currently sitting in 6th spot. Is that something that's going to be on your mind until the end of the season? We don't know if it's going to play a factor, but could be a potential promotion. Is that something that you and your staff are going to be thinking about?
Look, definitely. I'll be honest, mate, and just look with my personal opinion and go, I think it's a wee bit crazy. How it's all kind of getting rushed through and stuff, and I don't know crazy specifics, but even look at teams like the day, what a season Muir Kirk have had, and it feels a wee bit better for the teams that have went and bust their arse being really good, and then you can be mediocre and come in with them. But at the end of the day, look, we'll take it if it's in there. I think it'd be silly not to adjust goals, and if that's the case, you're going to want to miss out. Imagine you finished 8th or 9th by a point or two, and that happens. So, it'll be in the back of our heads. But as I said, I know it's that you hear Mob saying it all the time with the Bankies. I believe they've won the league today, but it was just a game at a time, and I think everybody says that. I think maybe at the start of the year, we let our aspirations be known, like in house with the team and stuff like that, and then we were trying to talk about targets and setting it and reminding them if we wanted to go and challenge and stuff, and things just get away from us and get a bit crazy. So reset it and just take it every game. But look, the format we're on, I think, what's that, 9 games, we've won 7. So great. Well, I can't fault them at all. Just can't help you look internal and get a wee bit frustrated with the first half of the season's bit. But me, definitely delighted with them.
Definitely. Look, mate, you'll go today, enjoy your weekend, and we keep a wee eye on how it's going to play out for the end of the season, potentially with promotion, because it could still be there. But congratulations again today, mate.
Thanks, appreciate it. And as I say, get the zone every week, mate.
Right, cheers, mate. See you later. Quizzes or belters, there you go.
I'll up the standard.
No, that was a good one this week. That was.
It's not good if you're getting them all right.
But we didn't get them all right. We got one wrong.
One.
Oh, sorry. Well, it doesn't mean it's any good if we're only getting one right.
I'm trying to see if George is want to talk to us.
Oh, George, I love George.
Still got his number?
I don't actually have it in the studio phone. I can put it into the studio phone though.
Renfruit just put on one of the social media things the penalty, the equaliser, with some celebration at the end of it.
Is that right?
Yeah, it looked really good.
Well, that's so important for them in terms of what it means. They've played co-winning. They've beaten co-winning. George, good to come on. I'll get him in a few minutes then.
Beating the teams at the top end really has never been Renfrew's issue.
It's funny, isn't it? Is that a mentality issue?
I don't know. It certainly won't be beaten from Jimmy or Ryan, because these guys are perennial winners. But just delighted to see how at the big end they expect us to be where we are.
They're now standalone league leaders as well.
Yeah.
And for the young squad as well, showing that character, to come back, we've been behind. And they've done it. I think they did it last time when I was in here with Gary. It was the St Rock's game that they went 2-0 down early as well.
Can you ask George to hold? I think we're going to have Moff coming on in a second. It's league champion.
I said you were going to phone him in a few minutes.
That's good then. We'll see where I'll need to put his number in the studio phone. But in terms of Renfrew, winning drop points today, it's a point gained, is it? I mean, that puts them a point clear, and it's I think that it's a really important point for them.
I know it's massive.
Massive for both teams, massive for them. Listen, points, I'll say this to Unbeaten team, points on the board are better than games in hand. And all you can do is play the game that's in front of you. Renfruit out today, and what obviously was a very, very difficult game against Arthle, who have got all the games in hand to come up. So looking at it now, Renfruit played 25 points 45, Cowan played 23 points 45, Arthle played 17 points 35. So obviously they'll adjust by the one game today. Arthle are still, what's that, 10 points behind. 10 points behind.
And they're running
no inroads.
They're starting to, I know they've still got a lot of games in hand, like they have more than a third of the season left to play.
You're going to pick up injury and suspensions throughout that.
But
8 games in 29 days.
That's a lot. I mean,
They've got
a lot of points can be dropped in that stage.
Also, they'll get a new manager, you're trying to get your points across, try to get your ideas implemented and stuff like that. And plus, some of the players might be a bit sore over the circumstances left to call and leaving as well. So you want to try and create that freshness, like give us a chance and get involved. And
it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting.
Quite an interesting one. Craig Mark got a win today.
I've seen that.
That was a really good one. Just a message.
Only one goal in the Cali Locals game. I'm disappointed.
The Cali Locals losing 1-0 to Craig Mark.
Johnny's taking his accreditation. I know he's flinging it back.
I know. It's for me, Craig Mark. Obviously, I mean I don't think they're officially relegated yet. I think next week they should be officially relegated. But even in that division, you're looking at the Ants losing today. Les Mahago, I think they nicked the win against Bonneton. So the Ants are going to drop into the relegation zone. It's quite worrying for them. I think that they're definitely in danger of going down.
That's one of the teams as well that we've all said getting relegated sometimes isn't the worst. I don't know. It's a new manager, and he's going to also bring a lot of 20s with him next year, one would imagine, because that's his background.
But
is it a time for them to reset again?
Maybe.
I think it's a difficult one for the Ants if they go down this year.
I think that Monty's got great contacts, so I don't think you see him getting Max Wright and stuff for the Lowland League. I don't think his contacts are just good for the 20s. I think that they could go and win that league next year. I think they would arguably be favourites to win that league in my eyes. I think they're a good side. Granted, they don't have any money. Everybody knows this, but I think that they could be right up there for pushing. But again, it might be another one. The Ants have hardly won anything ever. So if you go down to come back up to win a trophy potentially, is it worth it?
I think it's
I'll be interested to see how it all shakes out. But they might manage to stay up. Who knows? Because did Les Mahago win today? Did they?
3-2. We're just going to go to Gordon Moffat. Moff, congratulations. We've been saying it for months, it feels. Are you ready to say that you've won the league? Is winning the league enough for you to say you've won the league?
No, of course, mate. You've been saying it for months, and a lot of people have. But we had a job to do, and the boys done it. It's fantastic today, and obviously the results fell. We've got over the line, so just delighted for them to connect to the club.
It's been a massive one for you to get it over the line. You have been, to be honest, you have been nothing short of sensational all season. 25 games in the league, unbeaten, 21 wins, 4 draws. How was that for now? Taking away the players, just for you guys, Kirky, how was that for you guys as a management team?
Amazing. I think yourself, Paul. You've obviously been involved in it. It takes up a lot of your time. It's meant to be a part-time job, but it takes up so much of your time and takes a lot of dedication, not only for us, but for our families, and sacrifice for our families at times, So, it was just a wee bit surreal ticking into injury time, and
I said to the players, and I don't want to hear about other results, focus on ourselves, but obviously in injury time, stuff with the crowd started to filter on, and phones are getting checked, and you realise you're going to do it, and it was maybe a wee bit unexpected today, but I just delighted for everybody, delighted for the staff and the players and facing the board, and obviously the supporters. It's been brilliant scenes at the end there on the pitch.
Well, Johnny Bailey, congratulations to you and everybody connected with the club. What's the plan for looking forward? Obviously, there's a talk about reconstruction and stuff. Are you just going to charge on as if that's not happening and start to look towards potentially playing Musselburgh in the playoff?
I think it's a difficult one, Johnny, but I think we've got to do that at the moment because it is the sort of status quo at the minute. That's what's down at the moment. So we've got to stay focused on that until somebody tells us otherwise. And that's kind of been the message across the whole club, really. We know there's discussions going on, we know there's things happening, but I believe hopefully by the end of next week we should be in a position to retain a no, because it is, regardless of which way it falls, it's not really ideal at all. And I'm probably an understatement there to say that we don't yet know what we're going to have to do to move up to tier 5. So at the moment, also we'll just enjoy it this weekend, and hopefully by next weekend we've got a wee bit of clarity on what's next.
Moff, it's Desi, how you doing?
Hi, Des.
Congratulations. I'm absolutely delighted for you and the guys, and 100% well worthy winners of the league this year. Absolutely. I know you, and I know the professionalism that you put into this. When you guys go up, you guys are going to be able to challenge again. You won't settle for being a team just to consolidate. I think the team you have just now will be perfectly well to go in there. But I know you have bigger aspirations than that, and you want to improve and increase the quality that you have in the squad. Would that be the right way to think?
We will improve the group. We've already done that. We've got 1 or 2 guys agreed for next year on 3 contracts and ready to go. So we're already improving the group. Certainly don't want to stand still, and I always think you need to strengthen for a position of strength. So that's what we look to do. Again, in terms of next season, we don't yet know if we're going to go automatically up. If we do, then we'll be looking to try and be really competitive and show what a good group we've got. If we need to face a playoff, then we're obviously going to have a hugely tough task in that one first to get up. So we just need to see what way that falls. But if we do go up with sort of an automatic situation, then to answer your question, we'll be looking to go and try and show what a good group we've got.
Moff, in terms of supporters, you've touched on how much it means for them. How big was the turnout from them today? Because I think most people expected the league to be potentially won next week at home. But how big was the turnout from today, and how was it for you at the end with the celebrations with them?
It was pretty good numbers today. Lines right along the dugout side. Again, obviously a nice day, weather helped. But there was probably a few people in anticipation, maybe thinking it could fall away the day, but obviously things have to go away in terms of elsewhere, so you don't really know. But it was fantastic numbers, as it has been all season, Paul. Home and away. The fans have really got behind this group of players this season, and at the end, it was just fantastic. Just as I said that on camera with Ruby Davey, just a breakout of emotions. Certainly, Grace was very emotional. It was good to see a lot of fans that I've known a long time, even when I played for the club, were pretty emotional. So it was great to see. It was great to bring a lot of joy to a lot of faces. So it was amazing scenes on the pitch at the end.
Look, Moff, I won't keep you any longer. Go and enjoy your time as champions. It's been a long time coming for you, and I hope you guys have a great night tonight.
Cheers, guys. All the best.
Take care, mate. Well, we're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be back for the last half hour of the show right after these.